On time, on time. Mic check, mic check. Is video working?
Yeah, I gotta figure out what that.
I think we're good. Yo, okay, here we go. How's it going? Hello there, everyone. I'm Kevin, aka Toying Around. I'm a toy collector, photographer, and I sometimes review toys. And you are watching Unboxing Thursdays. I have a huge pile of toys, unopened toys, and this stream is a weekly push for me to unbox things so that I can get rid of all these boxes and make space so I can buy, more toys. And what started out as an hour-long segment on Instagram became a weekly rap session with some of my friends in this collecting community, and we discuss all the different aspects of this hobby. Whether you're tuning in live now or you're catching up later on your commute or you're doing dishes or something, don't forget to hit that thumbs up, please. And if you like what I'm doing here every week, please go ahead and subscribe with notifications on and share this video right now wherever you can. It all goes a long way in supporting and helping the channel grow, and I appreciate you, so thank you. Last episode, which was last year, I had on High School Creations. We were talking dioramas and whatnot. All other episodes of Unboxing Thursdays are in a playlist on my page, so you can check out previous episodes there. Next week's guest, I have to confirm it still, but on January 21st, I'm going to be opening toys with Sunny Reviews Toys. I'm sure you've seen his Instagram, his YouTube channel. Hilarious dude. So this is all exciting stuff for me. I'm glad to be back. Today's guest is an incredible toy photographer. I'm sure you've seen his work with Batman, the articulated series, and this is Posable Productions and ad.
How's it going?
Hey, what's going on?
Not too much. Happy to be here.
Hey, thanks for coming on, man. It's first guest of the year. It's very exciting. I've been
It's a big deal.
Following your work for a long time. We're internet friends. We've texted and talked about shots over all the years. But if I see your name on a computer, I'll definitely recognize it. But it's one of those things where, like, if you haven't said it out loud, like,
yeah,
you help me clear up. How do I pronounce your name? Is it Brandon?
Brandon is the hard part. Yeah.
Right. Yes. Exactly. Yeah. Okay. Good. I didn't want to get it wrong. So Brandon.
And of course, Deichler is easy.
Yeah. Exactly.
Very, very easy.
For sure, man. So for people who might not know you personally, I'm sure they've seen your stuff. Why don't you give people a quick introduction about yourself?
So I've been doing ACBA. I've been in the ACBA group. I just figured it out. It was the very last week of December in 2013. So I've been taking shots for that long. I mean, the first probably 3 years of that were garbage. I think most people are in that same boat. It takes a long time, a lot of repetition before you get good at any of this. Yeah, it's funny. I was because I just today redid a shot that I took, I think it was 5 years ago. And I remember being proud of that at the time, and now I'm just not. And then scrolling for it in my Instagram and just seeing all my old stuff, and it's just, it's horrible. So I'd like to think I came a long way. But yeah, so I've been in the ACBA group for that long. I give the ACBA group like 95% of the credit for how I've improved over that time. I'm a big advocate for that group. I'm a moderator in the group. Anybody who I see has talent and seems like they have the sort of personality that will thrive there, I always send them that way. So I'm a big believer in the ACBA way, which, if anyone is not familiar, is very much criticism welcome. It's very much, nothing is an attack on your work or your talent or anything. It's really all to help you get better. And I'm a big believer in that. So
right. For sure, man. Like they always say, when you look back on what you did when you were younger and you don't cringe at some of the stuff that you do, you haven't really grown as a person. So when you look back at your photos from 2013, if you don't look at them and like, God, this is terrible.
Yeah.
Then that means you haven't really, made any improvements or, leaps and bounds in your journey yet.
No, you're absolutely right.
So what we normally do, I have like a pile over there. I can show you like off camera after, or just a wall of toys. But it doesn't help that I keep buying stuff every week. But what I like to do when when I have people on and you have stuff to open, just go through some of the stuff that you have. Let me know what you're excited to open first, and then I usually have the chat kind of say like what they want to see you open first, and we'll give them a few minutes in the comments.
So there's nothing in particular that I'm like, dying to open, I guess. A lot of this stuff. So I admire the restraint of somebody that can wait till Thursday every week to open stuff, because that is not me. I'll open it as soon as the mailman drops it off, pretty much.
Yeah.
Generally. So the stuff that I have here is all stuff that. So I only collect stuff. My rule is that I can only collect stuff that I'm going to shoot. I cannot collect any. That's the only way to stop this horrible slippery slope that leads to bankruptcy, is for me to not buy anything that I won't shoot. So anything that I'm not going to shoot in the immediate future, I'll sometimes leave in a box for a little bit. What definitely falls in that category, I have a bunch of the NECA Ninja Turtle cartoon ones. I want, my goal at some point is to almost do the same thing with those that I do with Batman the Animated Series. Like,
oh my god,
I have my thing is cartoons. I love cartoons. I love comics. Anything that mixes those two, it's what I strive for. It's what my sort of style is. So I try to go for really saturated sort of photography, something that really evokes that. That's the stuff that I was drawn to when I was a kid, was bright colors, bright backgrounds. So I want to do that with these Ninja Turtles sometime, but my problem is that I'm kind of a poser when it comes to Ninja Turtles. I was into them when I was very little. I was born in 86. I think that cartoon was on, 89, 90, something like that.
Right.
I don't remember what a lot of that, what the villains were all about, and who some of these more obscure characters are. And then if you go back and watch those, it's really hard to watch now. People say that about like the X-Men
that I cringe at.
Yes, it's a lot of people say that about like the X-Men animated series, and yeah, that's aged not as well as some other things for sure. But Ninja Turtles is brutal to watch, for me at least. I think it's maybe one of those things. If I was old enough to really remember those first couple seasons or something, I think I would have more fondness for it, and it would be easier for me to go back and watch it. But so the problem is, again, I would love to do more photography in that style, but I need to really study up and make sure that I know what I'm doing and know what I'm shooting. So that's kind of my only hesitation. That's the only reason I haven't really opened these guys yet.
Sweet. I got really excited when you mentioned that you want to do the same thing, because I didn't collect. Were there that many X-Men animated series trading cards yet? I know that
animated series, not really. Yeah.
Right.
If they did, they were like, shitty ones that come with cereal boxes or something.
They did a series of like Fox Kids cards.
Yep.
And then there would be some X-Men in there, and those would be the only ones that I got excited about.
Yep.
But there weren't 90s X-Men animated series sets that I know of. I know I have Masterpieces, I have that. But I do have the Ninja Turtles cartoon cards, which is like the green board with the shell pattern around it. So if you're gonna do that, like,
that's the goal.
Definitely gonna get behind that for sure.
So they're going pretty deep with some of the characters, and again, so deep that I don't even know who some of the characters are too. Like that, and that show I think went for longer than a lot of people realized too. It went like 7
some of the later seasons get a little bit weird.
I tried to watch some recently, and I had no idea what was going on. They were in a different dimension, and I don't even know what was happening. But yeah, that's the goal. I don't think it's going to be as in depth maybe as the Batman stuff I do, but that's at least the goal. I'd love to do that. The Dream Comparison on Instagram, if anybody's not following him, Stephen Court Smith, I believe his name is, he pretty much is doing what I want to be doing. So if I never follow through on this or never quite pull it off the same way, go follow him instead. Follow him anyway. But he's the closest to what I want to be shooting that there is out there.
Cool, man. So yeah, that's what we've got. It's been a few weeks. I'm gonna shout out some of these people who are joining me today. Again, everyone, hey, Happy New Year. I know it's 7 days into the new year, but it's the first time I'm seeing everybody here. So, Happy New Year, Sunlin, Philog, Feliz Año Nuevo, all of that stuff. You got any other languages addressed internationally?
Buono anno. or something in Italian, something like that.
Good enough. Good enough.
Yeah, let's go with that.
My man Ronald Ramos is first here. He always says first whenever there's any stream that he hops on, regardless of whether he's an hour late or not. But he always manages to get first on my stream. So I'm really appreciative of that. Terrence is here. RMD Collective, High School Creations. I mentioned earlier he was in last week. Paul Morales, what's going on, man? Thor 2012. Dan Who, happy belated birthday. He had his
Dan, I do agree. Donatello was my turtle, so I'm with you on that one. That's a little further down the list. But.
Yeah. I'm just like from the future. Heroes World Online. Johnny Numer Cinco. I went pre-Spanish before I was even Spanish at Johnny Number Cinco. I was anticipating it. Matthew Charles, what's going on, man?
Hey, Matt.
796 Studios. That's my homie. Darth Clueless. Cap Lives. Cap Lives is. I think he's a big fan of yours.
Yeah, he's a good guy too. He's been improving in the ACBA group too. Yep.
Yeah. And I posted a little too late about ask a question to Posable Productions. He's the only one that replied. I'll pose his question to you later. Clockwork Orgy, Lago Figs. Cap Lives. Okay, Cap Lives jumped straight to the 2003 cartoon. All right.
So
all right.
I've that's one I've never seen a single episode of. It's probably the only one I haven't seen a single episode of. So I will check that out, especially if that can be kind of a stand-in for the 89 one.
Yeah, I think it's a little bit more stomachable after all this time. Going Geek, that's Bjorn right now from across the planet.
Nice to see you in here.
Mike G, that's my homie down the street. And Chamba. So Dante told me about this user Chamba. He's like an artist on from Instagram. I think he said he's from Canada. I'm not sure. He's gonna have to confirm that with me. But what we didn't specifically mention earlier is you have your account, Posable Productions, which is your general toy photography, ACBA stuff, and then you have another account which is Batman the Articulated Series, where you recreate scenes from Batman the Animated Series, the cartoon, using action figures and completely tangible techniques, right?
Yep. And yeah, it's probably dumb to have two accounts in a lot of ways. I probably could have one at least more super account, but I don't know. There's some part of me that just likes being able to go to one place and seeing all that stuff.
One super account.
Yeah, one super account. But yeah, it's nice to just have all that Batman stuff because some people don't care about anything else but Batman, frankly.
Let me see if I can pull this up on here. You can see what's on the screen, right?
Yep.
Okay, beautiful. So stuff like this, and the cool part is you always show a lot of your behind the scenes stuff, which is, it's still incredible. A lot of stuff for me, when I see the behind the scenes, it kind of shatters the whole illusion for me.
Yeah, I get that.
The main work. But like with this stuff, I can still look at it and I'm like, I know what you did, but this is still incredible. So background scenes like this, I mentioned this. What was I doing the other day? I think I was working in the garage and just randomly decided to do a live, and I was talking about how you'd be on. How do you have like a 1080p or video of this on your computer and you find the exact frame?
So yeah,
but I don't know if it's a trade secret. I don't want you to.
No, I'm very much against trade secrets, honestly. It would be nice to be able to keep all this stuff to myself, but that's just not, I don't know. That's not who I am. So really what I do and what I recommend to people, try to find some legal way to get a 1080p Blu-ray rip of the things you love. So like X-Men, the animated series, Batman, the animated series. I don't know that they even remastered the Turtles, but again, if you're trying to create that sort of cartoony feel, you sometimes need stuff that's straight from that cartoon. You're not going to find that style of Gotham in anything else, really. So what I do is I know just enough Photoshop to be able to clean things up a little bit. So what I do is I'll find, one of the first episodes of Batman the Animated Series is The Cat in the Claw, Part 1. And there's this scene of Selina crawling this building. And then in the background, there's this beautiful skyline that takes up like 2/3 of the screen.
Right.
So it's a blessing and a curse, because now I can't watch, especially that show, without looking for something I can make a cut out of. I can't just turn my brain off and watch that show anymore. Maybe once I've taken a shot of every possible thing there is in there, I can go back to just watching like a normal person, but I can't really do that anymore. So I'm just constantly, I'm pausing, I'm taking a screenshot. It takes me, they're 22-minute episodes. It takes me 45 minutes to watch an episode because I'm pausing and I'm taking a screenshot, and then I'm going forward one frame so that Selina's a little further over, Batman's a little more out of the way. Right. And then I can kind of take the two halves of the skyline and put them together in Photoshop. Oh. Yeah. So it's a lot of, ACBA is very anti-Photoshop, at least at its core. But I'm photoshopping the hell out of stuff before I print it to use it tangibly. So that's really my method. So like the crowd right there was the same sort of thing. And that was kind of difficult because they don't show that all in one shot in the cartoon. It's multiple ones that I had, it sort of pans almost. So I had to cut a couple different pieces and add them together, mess with the perspective a little bit. Right. Because obviously it's a flat image on my screen, but I need to have it slanted along, with the photo there. So it's a lot of camera tricks really, and just little Photoshop tweaks that I make to make this possible.
It's a simple thing, but it makes a huge difference. That if it was me and I got one screenshot and it was slightly blurry, or like you said, Selina's still in the shot, I go, well, I guess that's all I have. Yeah, it never would have occurred to me to like put a whole bunch of them together. Yep. So I've tried that with some more ambitious ones that haven't really worked out. Like there's one scene where Joker and Harley are in a car that goes by, and it's a really long car. And I've tried taking like 3 or 4 different ones and stitching them together, but sometimes the lighting changes and it gets difficult. But sometimes like I'll see something and be like this, I didn't think this was going to work, honestly. Right. And then I just tried it. I'm like, well, I have to try it. And more often than not, I can get it to look the way I want to. So. First off, this shot is incredible. The cutout of the crowd. I remember this Christmas episode, and they look fantastic. They kind of look like cookies. They look like graham crackers.
They do
in the crowd, don't they? The cardboard.
Yep.
And secondly, this Joker figure is probably one of the best, like a timeless Joker figure.
Yep.
That you could ever get.
Yep. And I almost passed on that one too, because I didn't know how deep that line was going to go. And I didn't know it was going to be possible to do an entire Instagram account based around that. And especially at the time, I didn't have quite as much money. Because that came out, I think, in the first year or two of that line. And I passed on it originally. And then at the beginning of that line, a lot of those figures actually dropped in price as opposed to going up. And now they're, catastrophically high. It's insane. I'm glad I bought everything. Yeah, especially since DC Collectibles went out of business, they skyrocketed. But even before that, the last couple waves, like animated series Two-Face, animated series Scarecrow, the Gray Ghost, they're all like $200 on eBay now. Just insane. They were 25 before.
Scanning my pile of toys.
I was going to say, if you have some somewhere and you need a little nest egg, that's a good way to do it.
Because, make sure I don't open it up in a future episode.
No, do not.
While we're on about Batman, this is some of the stuff that I have that I've accumulated the last few weeks that I am looking to open today, if time permitting. The first is the Flashpoint. Yes.
Twinsies.
Yes. I picked this up today. Do you do Star Wars at all? Is that
not really? That's one of those slippery slope things. I don't think I'd shoot him enough to. And other people are going to do it better than me. It's just not even worth me entering into. Black Series looks great though.
Do what you do well.
Stuff. That's it.
Kit Fisto. I picked that up from a local collector today. A SH Figure Arts Wonder Woman 84.
I haven't even seen that. Well, I've probably seen it in pictures, but I don't follow some of the import figures as close as other people do.
And Star Wars Black Series, Speeder Biker Scout with the child apparently there's a variant with the blaster in his foot sleeve thing. I don't know what the difference is. I'm sure it still comes with it. So
It's just a production error that they've called the variant.
Yeah, they moved it to the side. So I'm gonna open this Batman first because I've been, I've had this for like 3 weeks now, but I was saving it to open on here.
And I saw you talking with High School Creations last week, saying that you were saving it for a future guest.
Yes.
And then I thought it would be funny if I just opened it beforehand.
Come on.
Like, oh man, I'm sorry, I couldn't wait any longer.
Hold it up before you open it. You're gonna hold it right here. This is what happened to my light. All right. This is gonna be the thumbnail. Beauty.
So it's funny because I think the day you asked me to be on this podcast, I was at Target and found this figure. And my Target,
right,
they still have the first wave of these multiverse figures. They don't really get a lot of the newer ones, it seems like. They get a ton of those gold Wonder Womans that no one wants. Gotta love that it comes with a trading card, by the way. I was ahead of the game on this. I want to throw that out there. I did it before Hasbro was doing it with their boxes.
Absolutely. Had that thought ever crossed your mind that you're like, oh, I hope Hasbro sees my cards and they want me to do stuff for them to package into future releases?
So not only did it cross my mind, but Ryan Ting actually bought some.
Right, which is I've heard that, which is amazing because he's a huge card collector.
Yep. So the fact that he found mine and wanted them, and he even put them in like the sleeves and a binder and everything, and sent me a picture of it. That was pretty cool. I did not expect that to happen.
Did you know it was him when he ordered it, or did you do it through your side, or did he just message you?
If I'm going to be honest, I wasn't sure it was him at first because I don't know if he does now, but at the time he didn't really have like a super public account. I think he was actually like I think he had a private Instagram. Maybe he still does. I don't know. Okay. But he had messaged me about them and I kind of didn't believe it was him at first. And it turns out that it actually was.
Right.
So that was pretty cool. So yeah, he messaged me and was interested in them, and I was happy to send them his way.
That's awesome. So for people who don't know, Brandon takes toy photography shots of 90s animated X-Men or 90s animated series Batman, recreating scenes from the shows, and he prints them on like physical trading cards. And then when you buy a set, you're not just getting like cards in a bag. These are actually sealed in a wrapper. What would you call that type of wrapper?
It's like heat sealing foil bags.
Right. It's basically the same as
what they are, but it's what what trading cards used to come with.
Right. So for people under the age of, I don't know, you buy cards in a comic book shop or like a hobby store, and then like physical packs that you open up. And it's I think it's crazy that you went that extra mile to simulate that entire experience. So I'm sure Ryan when he opened those definitely got that same feeling too.
I hope so, because that was important to me, because it would have been very easy to just throw 10 cards in a Ziploc bag or something and that be the end of it. But I had to be careful with the because I would love to have done like the packaging a little more interesting. I kind of just I didn't want to put X-Men on them or Batman on the outside. I don't want to get sued for anything. You know what I mean?
I feel you.
I ain't about that. So I had to be careful with that, but I really would have loved to have gone the full. Maybe I'll do it just for myself, just for one package or something, just to have, but
let's see. It says Matthew Charles says, make sure y'all talk about the cutouts since you're one of the kings. We previously touched on that. The extent that you'll go through, like to have your backdrops, you cut them out, you print them at home, or you just.
So I actually don't have. Hopefully, my employers aren't watching this, but I don't have a.
Nobody's watching.
I don't have a printer at home, so the only place I can print, I can either pay at the local print shop.
We can just leave it at that. You pay at the local.
No, it's not. I don't think anybody's gonna catch on. It wouldn't be a huge deal if they did anyway. So I use my office printer. It's a laser printer at work, and it's a good printer for what it is. And I also have access. This is the godsend. I have access to a large format plotter which is like, you can print up to 36 inches wide on rolls of paper, basically. That has been the reason I'm able to do my backgrounds and everything. So that's part of my secret, really. There are places you can go to get that done, but obviously it's pretty expensive. It's hard for somebody who has to pay out of pocket to do that, I'm sure.
Plus,
so I have an advantage.
That's your exact scene, because then if you cut it up, then you're like, oh, back to the store. I got to pay another
exactly
$15 for something.
And I have a little more flexibility and leeway with what I'm doing. So,
all right.
But I can show one of those that I have here. Actually, I just did this one either yesterday or
this is a
2 days ago. So this is obviously huge. You can see that's probably, I think it's 18 inches tall. So I'm very much playing with, camera tricks and everything to get this to appear, in scale in the background and everything. So my table, you can see behind me, it's not that deep. It's maybe, 30 inches deep, I would say. So really this is only sitting maybe, 1.5 feet, 2 feet behind the figures when I'm shooting them. So it's just all about angles and making that sort of stuff work. But basically I print. So you could do this like Staples and Kinko's and places that have, wide format printing. But if you have it formatted to the size you want and everything, and you got to kind of know, what size is going to make sense for your kind of table. So this is just on plain paper. And then what I do is at Hobby Lobby or some kind of art shop, you can get, I think it's called chipboard. Somebody actually may know better than I do. It's like this pulpy sort of cardboard type paper. I basically trace a line around the cutout and use clear glue that I spread on with a brush. And then I just kind of press this down onto it. So that's very much my secret weapon, is that plotter.
That's probably what makes you like one of the kings, because that kind of effort. Well, I'm sure like people out there make dioramas and foam and all that stuff. That's a lot of effort too. But this is, I don't think I see many people do what you do in terms of some of these buildings. But it's cool, because if they're sturdy like that, you could probably amalgamate them into a whole bunch of like a lot of depth for your shots and different setups.
Yeah, depending on the shot, like I have some more like, that one's fairly detailed. You can see the color of the building and everything. I have some sort of like shorter silhouette type ones that can go in the background. Yeah, like you said, sort of simulate that depth. So where there's a gap between closer buildings, literally the other piece is right behind them, but it's smaller, and with enough blur on the depth of field, you can't really tell that, they're the same distance away, basically.
What do you use in terms of cameras and lenses? I'm kind of interested in that, in the technological side of the photography too.
So I have a Canon T5i, Canon Rebel T5i.
Okay.
I am not a camera head by any means. I bought this thing and didn't really have any idea what I was doing at first, which I think a lot of people in our hobby actually. Usually no one's strong suit is the camera. Very few people come to this hobby with camera knowledge, it seems like. A lot of us just kind of learn on the fly and learn from each other, really. And that's all it was for me. Chipboard, somebody says in the comments. So that's thank you, Darth. So that's chipboard that I use for that. So yeah, I have a I think it's let me check.
It's funny because I don't know if you can hear me.
So it's an 18 to 55 millimeter lens that I use primarily.
Okay.
I did just recently get a macro lens that Finn pretty much strong-armed me into getting, because that's like all he uses anymore, and it's all he talks about, and he does really great stuff with it. So I finally caved and bought one of those. Totally different. I haven't gotten a full feel for it yet. He's been helping me with certain things. I've taken maybe 5 or 6 shots with that solid, with just that. I've done some panel stuff where I'll use that, because it is really nice to be able to get that close to something and see every granular, tiny little detail. So a lot of my stuff, it doesn't necessarily work for, but it has its uses for sure. If I hadn't gotten a good deal on it, I probably wouldn't have bothered. But
he's been doing a lot of close cropped hot toy shots, I believe.
Yes.
Which they work because it's effective. The macro, you just compress all the stuff into your subject in the middle.
Yep.
But with a hot toy, it's like I used to try to do a lot of stuff with hot toys too, and I didn't have a macro yet or like a decent lens. But you can get a lot of good shots where it looks like like a real person.
Yep. And if you have good lighting like he does, yeah, that's all you need. You don't need to be doing crazy big setups like some people do, you know. I see Matthew Charles' question. Do you keep all your cutouts or truck when you finish a shot? It depends. So I'm not going to show you my room because it's a freaking mess. But I just have too much stuff. So what I usually do is if it's something I can see a use for in the future, I will keep it. If it's literally, it only fits this scene, it only fits this one character, you know, it's a very specific scene from the cartoon or something, I usually don't keep it. I do keep a little envelope somewhere, I don't know where that is, of stuff that someday I'm going to give away to somebody. That's just a bunch of just kind of sort of generic, you know, this could be used for a million different characters in a million different scenes. I do keep some of those. It's also like, I don't know, I've gotten used to, I pretty much don't take speech bubbles straight from comics anymore. I usually remake them myself. So it's always easy enough for me to just remake something if I need it. It's kind of wasteful, it seems like, but I don't know.
I think it's great to keep because if you have a whole account dedicated to, you know, this show, that artwork is very specific. And like you said, it's hard to simulate those buildings.
Yep.
With any other sources.
Anytime you need advice, Cap, you let me know.
Cap says he's taking down notes. He has a question. Let me pull it up real quick. While I pull up his question, you mentioned earlier briefly about DC Collectibles. Obviously that animated. Yeah, definitely. That animated series line is obviously huge for you that you're able to you know, do a whole account. But you know, there were a lot of quality control issues in those first waves, right?
Yeah, so there were. The first, I would say, year and a half of that line was really horrible. Like you would buy a figure and you would use it in one shot and the ankle would break. It was usually the ankles. Occasionally the knees. So it was like that clear plastic that I don't know enough about this stuff, but there's some specific clear plastic that a lot of people just kind of cringe when they see it now. And DC Collectibles was definitely notorious for using that. Right. But to their credit, they were not only really good about returns, replacements, refunds, whatever. If you emailed them, and I used to tell anybody that I saw broke a figure, I used to tell them this, you would email DC Collectibles with a picture and just a little note, be respectful, which is anytime you're trying to get something replaced or emailing support, just be respectful. And a lot of them are willing to do something for you. And then what you would get back, and this blew my mind at the time, you would get an email response from the VP of DC Collectibles, Kevin Kinnery, his name was.
Right. I think I kind of remember this.
Yep. And he would actually send out, if, you know, assuming they still had them around, if it wasn't too far past production or anything like that, they would send you a brand new figure in package with a handwritten note on it that says, thank you for supporting us, blah, 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 whatever. I still have a picture of it somewhere. I was just blown away because it was definitely Kevin. And he was a fan of these figures and a fan of the line. That's not always the case. So to their credit, they put a pause on that line basically for like, if it wasn't a year, it was close to a year. I think 2015, they didn't really put out many figures from that line. And they came back not using any of that plastic anymore.
Perfect.
They're still not they've gotten better over time still, but they're still not the sturdy. It's more about the figure designs, I think, than anything else. You know, they're so angular and skinny ankles and skinny wrists and things like that. There's only so much you can do with something like that. Pour one out for DC Collectibles. I'm with you. I'm devastated by that. It's one of those things I didn't really want to believe at first. You know, they were talking about reorganizing, restructuring. Maybe it'll come back in some, you know, I'm telling myself that maybe it'll come back in some form, but I don't know.
So we'll get to this after. Would you say that was ultimately their downfall, that the VP was taking time to write everybody?
So it's definitely possible. See, he actually left, I would say 2.5, 3 years ago now. So at least after that, it wouldn't have been on him. And after that, I never had to return anything. So maybe that wasn't as big a problem anymore. I'm not sure. My impression was that was a Time Warner AT&T merger was just bad for everybody involved, at least at DC. I think they, you know, when you acquire something, you would think that you have some love for it and some, you know, idea of how much it's going to cost you in the long term and everything.
Yeah.
It doesn't seem like they did, because they immediately just started trying to trim down and, you know, cut the fat even where there was no fat. But
all right, so word of advice: his leg doesn't go that far forward.
yeah,
like a millimeter. So I tried to angle it and then see if it would move up. And as a result, now I'm holding his leg.
Does it go back on?
It's not broken.
Okay.
I should have
Just
let
popped
it
off the peg.
It pops off, but the angle is damn near impossible. The joints are cool because they kind of have a ratcheting going on. It feels sturdier than some of the other McFarlanes that I have. Is this the first McFarlane DC that you bought?
I've gotten 4 or 5 others, I think. I got the White Knight figures, Batman White Knight figures, and I got the Arkham City Joker and Batman.
Okay.
Yep. And I got the Batman animated series one that's not really...
Yeah.
It's like they took the proportions of the New Adventures Batman and slapped the animated series paint on him. It's just kind of weird because, like, the proportions changed from, you know, designs of that show. But
right.
I don't know. I was expecting more because have you seen the or maybe you have it, the Cyborg, the Teen Titans Cyborg that they did?
I've only seen pictures. I haven't seen it in store yet.
I haven't seen it in store either, but it looks unbelievable. It looks like it's straight from the cartoon, and that's what I want. Give me that. I'm not even a huge Teen Titans fan, but if they did that instead of that Batman we got, animated series Batman, I would be thrilled. It's not going to be the same. The scale's different and everything, but anytime I have more options, the better.
Would you say DC Collectibles was kind of all over the place? Because they had the Batman lines, and then they had icons, and then it just seemed like, oh, you know,
Essentials they did after that.
Right. And everything seemed to be, they were just jumping past the point that they were trying to get to.
Yep.
And then they try to backtrack, they jump way too far back, and they never nailed it.
No, and I feel like the only line they had, I think that had to be their longest running line, was the animated series one. But yeah, they would do icons and they would do the same, you know, 15 figures, and then they would totally change the line and change it into essentials, and then they would do like the same 15 figures, it seemed like. And they would just always get to the same point, and then they would say, no, let's change it all and, you know, start over with a new line. And, well, there was no new line, it turns out.
But the animated series had some of the best merchandise that you could get, not just the figures. But I think I spoke with you when the Batcave first was announced.
Oh, my God, yeah. That thing is
how cool is that set?
It is the coolest. And that's like, so that's one of those things it kills me that I actually had to pass on the Batwing. Did you ever see the Batwing that they made for that line?
They were clearing it out at some stores here because maybe it wasn't selling, or it was just ginormous.
I remember seeing it for like $100.
Yeah,
I don't know what it started out at. Maybe 200. It was up there. It was too big for me to shoot. And like I said earlier, if I can't shoot it, I can't have it. And I can't believe I passed on that. Yeah, exactly. It would have been half this room.
I don't know what you could do with that.
Yeah, I would have been able to shoot it up close pretty much, and that's it. So I'm not devastated that I don't have it, but it does feel wrong that I don't have it. But no, the Batcave, it's unbelievable. Like, and there's so many people that passed on that and regret it now, and I'm glad I'm not one of those people, because I almost wish I had another one. Just because what really scares me is that we got an Alfred action figure.
Yeah. That
looks amazing.
Yeah.
But like we talked about quality control, if that figure ever breaks, there's no replacing that.
No.
That Batcave set, I can't even imagine what it goes for now. It's probably $500 or something.
I can't think of another toy line that had that size of a playset at that kind of price point.
Yep, and it was a light up and everything too. Yep. It had a bunch of different like props, and I used the like the back computer chair for anything because it's generic enough that it just kind of looks like a sci-fi chair. That's one of my favorite purchases from the past. You see people with the Castle Grayskull that just came out with
that I could compare it to.
That's the next thing you compare it to. Exactly. Yeah. It's unbelievable. I never expected them to get into like play sets. I thought, figures was going to be what I would get, but still no luck.
No.
So you have scissors and a heat gun near you for this now. That's what you need for this show.
Maybe I'll hop onto Bill Maru's stream and ask him to fix this live for me or teach me, give me pointers. 80s Baby says he has the Batwing. It's huge, and knowing him, it's probably still in its box in his storage warehouse. The Batmobile, yes. Let's not forget the Batmobile, which came with Batman, Robin as well, I think.
Yep, and it also had like they had cloth capes for them. They weren't very good cloth capes, but they were at least ones you could fit in the Batmobile with. So. Right.
And it had the bat signal too, right?
They did. So they did them separate at first, and then they came out with sort of a reissue both together. That was a great deal. I didn't need it, thankfully, but
it was a bat signal with Batman, and then it was Batmobile, Batman, Robin, and Bat Signal. Because I remember, I think I sold that original set with the Bat Signal in it. And
it sucks because that line was just getting to. They were doing like cell shaded repaints and everything. They weren't like. Some other companies are doing cell shaded better now, like the Ninja Turtles, for example, where it looks like, if you have the right lighting, it literally looks like a cell from the cartoon. It wasn't quite to that level, but it's just nice to have those little blue streaks on Batman's cape and his gloves and his cowl and everything. And they were just starting to do that.
Yo, Captain McKay Random says, if you're serious about needing another Batcave, last I knew my local comic shop has one for retail.
You should buy that. Buy that, and you should, if you were smart, you would jack it up twice the price and sell it to me.
Oh, okay.
That's incredible, though. If that's true, they probably don't know what they have. If that's the case, because somebody said it was going for like 80s Baby said it's going for about $600 now. So if it's anywhere close to retail,
it's so good. It's a huge base. You have your back computer, and then you have an actual backdrop. Like
it's
the one
backdrop too. Yeah. Yep.
Right. And it gives you the depth behind the bat computer. It's crazy.
Yep. And it's easy to light from. I'm a big fan of lighting from below. That's just a huge thing for me.
Yeah.
That sort of gradient background. That's like one of my signatures pretty much. And it's so easy with that set because that, the sort of stone base of that is like 3 or 4 inches tall. Yeah. That's using that backdrop right there.
And look at these shots, man. They're so clean. It's good that they gave the cloth capes. They thought ahead that, if we want these figures to sit inside, they're going to need the cloth cape version. And then you have, is Robin's head a cutout in the Batmobile? Or
in the last panel it is. Just his head.
I mean, these are classic. This is the Alfred that we talked about that comes with the Batcave set.
Yep. I'm going to be devastated if that ever breaks. I swear to God.
The multiverse Alfred is, I know it's not animated, but that figure was actually really, really cool that they had the different Alfreds from all
the movies, right?
Yeah.
Yeah, I didn't get too many of the Mattel figures. I actually tried to pre-order that one on Amazon, and it was one of those things where once the time came, they kept delaying it, and then canceled it on me. So I never got one of those.
That's one thing Americans and Canadians have in common is that Amazon just delays and cancels your pre-orders.
So I should, if you go back to that Man-Bat one, that's another thing you were asking about where I get the cutouts from and stuff. It's not always from the cartoon. There was actually 3 or 4 different, I think 4 different comic series that sort of tied into the show. Right. They were like technically not canon, but some of those stories, like Batman Adventures, Gotham Adventures, some of those stories are better than some of the episodes of the show. So it's actually been one of the cool things the past couple of years is there's a guy, he's on Instagram, Tim Levins, his name is. He did, I don't even know how many issues, 60 issues probably of the last run of the Batman animated series tie-in comics. And he's just got this awesome style for that. And there's so many panels with like full character cutouts. This isn't one of them. This is actually from one of the earlier ones, but it was actually pretty cool. When I saw that he was on Instagram, that he had joined Instagram, I looked back at all these photos I had done, and there's his art. There's his art. It's just so many characters of his that I had taken, random goons, stuff in the, skylines in the background, all kinds of stuff that he had drawn. So I talk with the guy all the time now. He's a fan of mine now. I'm a fan of his. We talk. It's really cool. That's been a really cool side effect of doing all this. And especially taking stuff straight from the comic. It's cool to have somebody that sort of, appreciates that. I think he thinks it's pretty cool that stuff he did 20 years ago is, popping up in photography now,
This is the perfect lead into what I wanted to talk about next is somebody who's worked on this product. You've interacted with them. This also happened with the X-Men animated series stuff that you do. You take a lot of those shots. Like I said, you have a set of cards. By the way, in the description below, there is a link to Brandon's Etsy store where which ones did you say are in stock right now?
So currently I have 3 sets of the 3 series of the Batman ones up. I don't have the X-Men ones up currently. I do have some left though. So over the next couple of days, I'll definitely get those added back to the Etsy store. Right.
So it's in the description. Make sure you check that out, and make sure you guys clear out everything until they're sold out.
And I actually have probably in the next couple months, I'm going to have the second series of the X-Men ones up.
Beautiful.
So what they are, and you can find some of those on my Posable Productions Instagram account. But what I do, I took the 1992, which to me are the most iconic trading card designs. I pretty much made that same sort of template and take my own figure photos and put them in that sort of template. So
what was it that you said earlier? It was a very specific phrase. You said you knew just enough Photoshop.
Yes. So I know. Yeah. I don't know any sort of advanced techniques in Photoshop, but I know enough to be dangerous, I would say.
I think that would be an amazing name for a podcast. It's like just Photoshop or something like that.
Yeah. So that's, I know enough to just I probably do things in the least efficient way possible, but it works for me and I'm okay with that. Just knowing that I, made these frames myself when I very easily could have found somebody to do them for me if I wanted to just do it the easy way. But I think they came out pretty good. And I did a lot of color tests on those to make sure they were as close as possible to the actual 1992 cards. So I'm pretty proud of those.
All right. Before we jump over to talking about X-Men, Cap Lives said, would you like to see Mafex do TNBA? That's the new Batman Adventures?
Yep.
Would you like to see Mafex do the new Batman Adventures Batman Beyond / JLU, or would you want them to go back to Batman the Animated Series? This is a whole bunch of letters jammed together.
So I am, in a lot of ways, a fake DC fan. I'm very much a Batman fan and things that are sort of around his orbit. I'm very much a Marvel and Batman fan. I'm that guy, which I don't like to say that, but I'm not as into...
I'm in that boat too.
Yeah, if we got really good JLU figures, which we did not, we got ones that looked good, but they had horrible articulation. They didn't even have waist swivel or anything.
Right.
If we got decent figures, I would have done a lot more of those, but we didn't. And Batman Beyond, I have to be honest, I didn't watch that back in the day because I thought it was dumb when I was a kid. When I was 13 years old, I just thought that was stupid, and I didn't want to see Batman of the future or whatever. Now I think it's a lot cooler. It doesn't hold a candle to the animated series or even the new adventures to me, but I would definitely buy figures. Some of those villain designs are awesome. So would I want to be dropping 80 or 90 bucks on them? I don't know, but I would consider it for sure.
So now that you've opened the Flashpoint Batman, how do you feel about it? Would you say it's dope or nope? I feel like it's somewhere in between.
I think it's somewhere in between. I would definitely lean towards dope. My problem with them is they always have a couple shortcomings on articulation. Like, how could you not put a thigh cut right there, right on the strap? I don't think they have thigh cuts on
cranking this leg off.
Exactly. So that's one thing. I don't think any of their figures have that, and I don't really understand why.
Because look, if you didn't do anything to it, this is the figure when it comes out of the box.
Yep.
This is how much it can go forward
without starting to go outward, and that just looks weird. So you can't have to kick anybody unless you're doing a Street Fighter style. He looks really good though. Like, it's a great design, and the sculpts are always good on the McFarlane figures, in my opinion. One thing I respect about elbows. Yeah. One thing I respect about them is that they the number of unique sculpts on their figures for 20, 25 bucks, whatever it is in between there, is kind of amazing. When you look at how much reuse there is in Hasbro, which there's nothing wrong with that, but the fact that they give us so many unique pieces, they're not just repaints. Like even the little emblem there, that red part is actually sculpted in. It's not just on, which would be on a Hasbro figure. The cape, they're not going to be able to reuse that cape for anything, I don't think. I respect that.
Gold version.
Exactly. Gold other than that, one point that they definitely have for me over Hasbro is Hasbro, like, it rubs me a little bit the wrong way that they're doing like the retro Spidey figures they're doing right now. They're on the same cards that the cartoon figures were on back in the day. Yeah. And they're painted to be the same colors as the cartoons, but they don't look like them. You know what I mean? Most of them don't, at least. Kingpin's pretty close, I guess, but they're not doing like a custom head sculpt for that to look like the cartoon Kingpin.
I've been saying this about McFarlane since day one. Like most action figures in Canada retail at $30. It's across the board. Marvel Legends, Star Wars Black Series, even Multiverse, when it was out, they were $30. These are at big box stores for $24.99, so $5 less than your major lines. Like you said, you're getting a unique sculpt almost for every figure. And I'm not complaining about Power Rangers. I love Power Rangers, but it's essentially the same body, just repainted, right? And
ching, ching, ching.
You know, good on the creators for making it that way. Helps the toy company, but you know,
and that's made by a toy company, right? Doesn't Bandai do Power Rangers?
Don't they used to until Hasbro bought it.
That makes total sense if you're a toy company making a cartoon or a TV show.
And then what did Todd make last year? 75 figures. You know, he put out that that chart of every figure he released last year.
Yep.
I don't know if I'm remembering correctly, but it's up there. The number of unique sculpts.
More than I realized. Yeah, for sure.
Yeah. And this is being sold at is it a lower price in the US also?
It's either the same. I think most of them are $19.99. A couple of them might be 22 something, depending on where you're buying it from. Right. Some places kind of jack them up by a couple bucks, but
I think if they had to build a figure piece for the Batmobile, which I thought was a pretty unique take in the first line, though I think those were a little bit more expensive. But that's crazy that this is a mass retail line that.
Yep. No, they deserve a lot of credit
for kids. Yep. Well, to get them into, if you're a parent and you're like, I don't want to spend $30 on something like an action figure, but then you see this a little bit cheaper, and then you get, it looks amazing. You can get this for your kids if you wanted to.
Some bulky ass figures too that they've made.
Yeah, a little bit pointy.
Still, a little pointy maybe for a child.
Yeah, maybe not Devastator.
Maybe not.
That thing. Oh my God, I shouldn't put it up there. That's like a medieval death trap. If I knock this, it come down, it's like
you'd be killed live on YouTube.
Trying to rob an Egyptian tomb or something.
No, I'm pretty impressed with this figure though. That's my only knock really, is that they all need thigh cuts, and I don't know that he's ever going to do it, but they kind of lack accessories too. But again, you're going to get that if you're getting these sculpts for $20 too.
Yeah. My experience with these is take it out of the box, check out the articulation, realize I'm not going to do a shot with it, put it back into vanilla and onto the top shelf it goes for me.
That's why I'm being selective on these too, because like I said, I'm not going to shoot. If I'm not going to shoot it, I can't have it. And I've even broken that rules with some of my McFarlane figures that I've already gotten. He actually has a butterfly joint too, which I didn't even notice.
Yeah. And they're solid. I feel like they're ratcheting and they're holding the pose really well too. Yeah,
the cape kind of hinders it obviously, but the fact that it's there, and I wish it was a little more usable, but I get why it's not.
Yeah, it'll still look. I mean, if you wanted to recreate this picture from the trading card, you can nail it.
Very vanilla pose, yeah. That was smart.
They're not setting the expectations too high.
No, they're not.
So 80s Baby said they brought you up when they had Ryan on their show. I mentioned earlier you have interacted with the team that did the X-Men, the animated series.
Yep.
It was on Infinity Equation, right?
Yes. Yep.
Did it happen anytime before that, or was that when it the first time you had contact with them?
So there were. I'm trying to remember. I think I was on when the Voice of Wolverine was on. I was on that episode.
Right.
And I think I just got to, I think they showed my work for when I felt like I was there. If I'm being 100% honest, I feel like I was there, but I don't think I was on the episode that the creative team was on.
Right.
But they showed my work to them, and just watching them, for them to even think it's remotely cool was awesome,
Yeah, for sure.
These are older people that worked on this thing 30 years ago, and, they could very easily just be like, yeah, that's awesome. But that was a really cool experience. I really thank those guys for that, because they didn't have to show my stuff for sure by any means.
No, that's definitely bridging like the hobby and the original.
100%.
They had
like a little kid watching that.
Yeah, and I think they don't look at it as being weird, because those guys are still like heavy into this product. Like they recently put out that hardcover.
Yep, I bought that. I got it here somewhere.
Have them on Twitter, and they're constantly posting, retweeting people.
Yep.
They still love that show, like what they did.
And I think they basically have said they would do it again tomorrow if Disney Plus came to them. So
yeah,
I don't know that that's going to happen, but it's cool to think about. They would have to be the same designs though, for me. I am such a sucker, especially that Cyclops. That's my favorite character and my favorite costume. And if they were to bring that back and give him like his astonishing costume or something, it would be a step down.
No, that wouldn't be the same.
It wouldn't be the same. I don't care how out of date it looks.
I'm gonna open this SHF Wonder Woman. I think it's the Batman versus Superman one. No, was there a Justice League SHF? I basically found a local ad where a guy was selling his DC collection. And I think I paid, it was like 20 figures, and I paid, I don't know, 100, 120.
That's pretty solid.
I don't know if he knew, but there was an SHF Wonder Woman in there. So I basically paid like $5 for this used import figure. So I didn't mind spending actual money to buy another one.
How used?
No, just like on display.
Yeah.
Full accessories were complete, and everything was there.
It's the 80s, baby. Yep. Ryan said he copped a set of your cards. Yeah, that is just, I still can't get over that. I remember I DM'd Boog and asked him if that was really Ryan Ting, and he didn't even know. So I was just like, I'm not sure it's him. But eventually I found out that it was. That's still just mind-blowing to me. Like, he's like a celebrity in our circles,
Yeah.
The fact that he pops up, him and Dan Ewan pop up in these live streams all the time. That is so cool to me. These guys give a shit,
You can tell that they love what they're doing.
Yep.
Especially because now Ryan's like a huge card collector, and he brings both of those hobbies together. Like he puts the card style artwork on the back of the retro packaging sometimes, and on I believe the Havoc Polaris,
yep,
have that.
I was really hoping to get the call to do some like custom ones for Hasbro. I think that time is probably past with the anniversary being over, the 80 years or whatever. I think that would have been the time to do it, but I was really hoping that was going to lead to something. But it's still pretty cool. I
would have been like, not just me, I think everybody in the community would have been like really excited to see your work on that instead of just like an old picture or something pulled up.
And maybe they could have had somebody professional put the template together.
Hey, it's that I know enough Photoshop guy sending us a photo.
Exactly. From the Know Enough Photoshop podcast.
So I don't know if this is intentional, but the lower hair piece is just not connected.
Does it give it more neck flexibility, maybe?
Could that be the intention, so that it doesn't?
Is it like ball jointed or something? I guess you could show like movement too that way. If she was running or something, you could have it sort of up.
It's still a solid piece, but it's it wiggles. The coolest part when I was listening to the Infinity Equation, Cal Dodd, right? That's
Cal Dodd. Yeah, that was
that's
so
the name
cool.
of the Wolverine voice actor. He's cool. He loves his Wolverine stuff. And the coolest part for me, I didn't know that like all of the voice actors were Canadian.
I didn't know that either. It's like everything gets filmed in Vancouver because it's cheaper up there. It's probably something similar.
There's a lot of Hollywood movies and stuff. They come north of the border. There's probably like government bonus if you film here and do all this stuff. There's I don't know, something to do with taxes probably. So a lot of movies are shot here in Toronto. But he said he was in Toronto, and those guys, I guess the labor was cheaper, so they hired the voice actors. Everyone is from Toronto, so all these guys are Canadian.
The person who voices Rogue, I wish I could remember her name off the top of my head. She's actually like a government official now. Did you know that?
No.
I'm totally blanking on her name. Somebody in the comments hopefully will know. I think it's Lenore something or something like that. And she's actually, she's in the government, which is pretty funny. I'm just trying to think because one of the things that's seared in my brain from that show is her scream. Yeah. Anytime Rogue, drains somebody's powers or something, or falls from the sky or whatever, it's just like, it's kind of a horrible sound, but it will stick with you, and it's iconic in that way. So it's just funny to think that she's like a government official now.
Nothing was worse than watching X-Men and your parents are in the next room, and then Jean goes, ah, just like, and you're sitting there as like as a kid, and you're just like, what the hell? Your parents are in the next room, and you're just like, oh, those X-Men are at it again.
I think it might be worse when you're 33 or 34 years old and your wife is in the next room and she hears it. That's a little worse to me than being 8 and your parents hear it. To me, because I'm still watching that on Disney Plus every once in a while. My kid loves the intro too, which makes me really happy. He's only 6 months old, but he stares at it every time. So he's going to be loving that as much as I do, hopefully.
Yeah, I showed it to my daughter a few months ago, and she loved it. And we would play X-Men around the house. She would try to do the Storm voice. So she'll put her arms out, and she'll float around. She'll be like, "Winds, winds, lightning." It's
so awesome. Dramatic, so melodramatic.
I mean, you are a goddess of the elements.
Yes, it comes with the territory.
Oh, man. This is pretty good. I think if you look head on, she looks okay. If it's a little bit off to the side, her eyes are a little, might be the lighting, a little bit crooked.
Likeness on that's pretty good though, right?
Yeah, I think so. This one doesn't have as much accessories as the previous ones. I think there were shields and swords. This one is just the tied up lasso and the flinging lasso.
Is that the one people keep doing like the upskirts with? Pretty much upskirts, not literally, but
yeah, I can see that. Yeah. Oh yeah, that was in the ACBA page where it was like it was Grogu and a whole bunch of female figures, and then it was just the cheeks.
Yep.
I think that was the case with like a SHF Harley Quinn.
I don't remember which. I think it was definitely one of the Wonder Woman ones, but I don't know which import figure because I think a bunch of companies making those, right?
Pancheesy is in the house. What's going on, man? Thanks for tuning in.
Good to see you, Pancho.
Yeah, I was on we were both on the ACBA.
Yeah, that was
past what day was that?
Sunday, I think, because I was used to it being on Saturday. And then I got a message from Boog, and I was at my parents eating dinner. And I'm like, I don't know when I'm going to be home. Those guys, Boog usually doesn't like to go too late with those. And then I was like, well, if you're still around at like 8:30, I can be ready by then.
Right.
He said he would be, and I didn't think that was going to be true. But sure enough, they were still going. That was a marathon episode. I think they went 5.5 hours or something.
Yeah, it was like unparalleled universe level.
Yeah. So I got Shredder unboxed here. It's probably the one I was most excited for. These are older for some people, but hopefully some people, well, hopefully not hopefully, but some people have the same experience of these being pretty much impossible to find.
I'm skipping most of the not skipping most of the cartoon. I'm being selective with the cartoon stuff between NECA and Super 7.
Those are really nice too.
It's a weird mix.
Yeah.
But so I'm cool with seeing these figures. I haven't held one personally. We mentioned cell shading earlier. The Casey Jones from the cartoon line has the cell shaded weapons and that hockey stick with the super sharp shadow right on the edge of it. Like, man,
so damn cool.
Yeah.
PC in general is probably the best looking figure out of the whole line to me. Other than Bebop and Rocksteady look awesome. I don't have those yet. I'm still waiting. Somebody's sending those to me actually though. So
nice.
Or actually, no, those were ones I pre-ordered on the NECA store when they opened pre-orders for like 2 weeks or whatever.
Right.
Which I never thought was going to happen. And honestly, I wouldn't have been able to join this line if they didn't do that. So good on them for doing it.
Yeah, they've definitely because once you put out the 4 main turtles right at the beginning,
yep,
it's hard to keep the line going, right? You're going to go down the list and eventually you're going to fizzle out.
Right.
So whoever missed it in the beginning, re-release it for them.
Yeah.
And for somebody like you, you know, you get that opportunity and you'll probably end up buying more stuff.
Yep. Exactly.
It's good. It's good for everyone.
What happened with this line for me is that, so my target, I mean, the NECA shelf is usually just like the Nun, 6 Pennywise figures, some Back to the Future stuff that I just personally don't care about.
Okay.
I just happened to check one day and I saw a Ninja Turtle box and I was like, I had to buy it. I'm like, all right. I didn't know. I knew they were hard to find. I didn't know how expensive they were on eBay. You look on eBay, it's like 3 times retail is what they sell for. So I was like, all right, well, I only have 2 of the turtles and there's 2 versions of the turtles at this point. There's the Wave 1 versions, which are a little darker and I think to the cartoon, but I got the second Wave ones, which are a little brighter, just more my style. And so I still, to this day, only have 2 of the turtles.
But so you will be looking to complete.
I'm looking to complete. I'm probably going to have to spend a little bit more money to complete that now. Captain McKay in the comments here actually helped me out with a couple of these. Don't take it personally that I still haven't opened them. I don't know if you heard me at the beginning. It's not totally my thing, but I'm glad I saved them up for this. They're just too beautiful to not collect.
The Krang and the robot leg, I think that is more exciting to me. I never had of all the turtles I didn't have a Krang. I didn't have a Krang in the Robo suit.
Yep.
So the NECA one, sweet. Prime to the first, which I'm sure a lot of people know. He was super nice. He showed he was at Target or something, and there's a whole rack of them. I'm like, oh damn, I need that. He goes, okay, yeah, I'm going back later. He picked it up for me, shipped it to me, to my U.S. shipping service. But from there, I don't know what's going on with them, so I'm still waiting on that. But very excited to get.
At least it's even if you don't have it in hand yet, to have it at all is nice.
Distribution for Ninja Turtles is very finicky, I'm sure, in the US, and on top of that now the licenses are different to come to Canada. So wherever I can find it, I'm gonna find it.
For you guys?
Like the pre-orders for the Splinter and Baxter Stockman 2-pack recently came up to like comic book store retailers. So they're not store specific. I don't think no stores really sell NECA turtles. Like Toys R Us doesn't, Walmart doesn't. So yeah, I guess that's why they have to open it up to retailers to have more access to people. 80s Baby says, I'm selective on them too. I'm selecting all of them. That is not the definition of selective, but if there's so many good quotes from Dario. I need to do a top 10 of Dario quotes from 2020. There's I listened to Toy Migos a lot more, but man, there's some quotable there. Bebop and Rocksteady would push back to Q1, which tells me nothing.
Yeah, I saw that. So I'm bummed about that. Those are probably my most highly anticipated of the whole line. I do have the Splinter and Baxter on the way right now, which is exciting.
EV Games carries NECA TMNT. Yes, that's correct. So the NECA Splinter and Baxter Stockman, like, man, that Splinter is straight out of the cartoon.
Yep.
Right?
People have done really, really good photos with those.
Yeah.
Splinter already.
The Baxter looks great. All these deep cut accessories that come with it.
I think they're getting even better with the cell shading with every wave.
Yeah.
So I'm kind of hoping they do another Like another, of the 4 turtles would be nice, because that's probably going to be my only chance to get them. 2 of them at least.
Which 2 do you have?
I have Donatello and Leonardo.
And Donatello is your favorite turtle?
Yeah.
Awesome.
Yep.
I'll see if there's anything around here.
You're
not far away.
No.
I have a relatively decent shipping service to the States. It's awesome.
Yeah, I was surprised to hear that, because I had bought effects from you and you had bought cards from me. And yeah, I was surprised, because usually I kind of cringe when I think about shipping to Canada or buying stuff from Canada. But that's pretty nice that you have that.
It's because I'm somewhat close to the border, so the service I use brings it across the border. I pay them a fee, but I pay for USPS postage.
That's nice, yeah.
So it's inexpensive for me, but Dario hates USPS, but no, sorry, Laser Pants hates USPS, but it works very well for me. I could ship something on like a Thursday, Friday, and it's arrived in New York by Monday in the recipient's hands.
Because I can ship stuff. My wife is from Maine. We ship stuff up to her parents, and it takes like 10 days. It's ridiculous. Now, they live like way the hell up there. It's like the border to Canada is in their town. It's in Fort Kent, Maine. It's forever from here.
Right.
But yeah, it takes way longer than that does to get to them.
Dude, and that crank comes with that little shrunken down shredder, right? The kid shredder?
The new one does, yep.
It's so cool, man. Like, that's the kind of stuff. I don't think that ever was a figure back in the day.
Yeah.
Kid shredder.
I'm surprised. So that's something, if they didn't do that, I probably would have done a cutout of, so it's nice to not have to do that. Waiting for IDW Turtles, that would be awesome.
Those are great. I have a lot of those comics.
Yeah. The new, that new run, well, new now, it's like 8 years old or 9 years old, or something, but it's awesome. Yeah. That's been that in the 2012 cartoon are kind of where my most recent knowledge is from, for sure.
Yeah. The only thing
2012, I wish we got more figures from that. We got those really good Revo turtles, but
yeah,
not much else.
You could tell those guys on that show were turtle fans.
Yeah, because
I don't very specifically when Michelangelo in one episode had like a crazy reaction. His face turned into the 90s cartoon Michelangelo. I'm like, that's amazing. Watching it, and I used to watch that. I'm like, oh, cool, man. Like, they put that in there.
That's awesome.
The only thing they don't have from that series is, do you remember Michelangelo had an ice cream kitty, which was like a mutated
Yes, I do.
cat that he kept in the freezer?
Yeah.
There was supposed to be a figure of it, but it never came out. And I do a lot of 3D printing, and I've been looking for models of it online. Like, can I just someone model it? Someone as lame as me just model it so I can have my own in my collection. It's just a pile of goo that was pink, and it was also a cat.
I need a 3D printer badly. I think I'm more likely to buy a 3D printer than I am to buy just a home printer.
Well, you got the work one.
Exactly. Why am I going to spend money on ink and everything? I just had to order ink for the office one because I've been using it, and it's like $500 for 4 colors. It's insane.
Yeah.
So I have some advantages on the cutout front when it comes to the cost.
Ink is a scam. It's another hustle. I just got a resin printer, and I don't know if this is visible.
Yep, that's pretty legit.
There's just a lot of fine detail in this print that the trigger is really thin. What's that area around the trigger? Like, if I try to put
the wrong guy, I'm an American, but
I thought you would know.
I couldn't tell you anything about guns. I'm not really an American.
The sight fell off when I was moving it around, but this is an M4A1. I know that because of Call of Duty.
I was just gonna say I've played multiple video games with that gun at least.
It's like, oh yeah, that gun has great recoil control.
The range is solid. Rate of fire.
But at 100 yards out, no. I would switch to a sniper rifles. But yeah, I ended up getting the right size, I think, for
that looks good.
Punisher. It's just getting some of these details down.
So for something that small, I know sometimes I've bought stuff that's 3D printed that has a lot of like the print lines on it.
Yeah.
Does yours do well with something that small?
When you're doing resin, it should not be as apparent. You can get really fine detail. That's what when toy makers, they prototype stuff after they've modeled it, they would print it out on a 3D printer for something like this, like a head sculpt.
Nice.
It would get good detail. Bjorn says, "Is that not an M16 rifle?" Listen, Fortnite, okay? I know which file I downloaded. I'm just kidding. No, it's supposed to be M4. I think it's because of this barrel or whatever you would call it. Dude, Shredder versus animated Batman.
Just reading that.
How was that for you?
So like as far as me taking shots of that, you mean? Or
No,
how
the movie.
Figure. Oh, the movie. We're talking which movie though? Like the recent animated ones?
The Turtles and Batman crossover.
So I didn't watch that because it's not the right Batman for me. They did a different. It's weird. They did one where it's like the I don't know what versions those are, but they also did a comic version with the 2012 Ninja Turtles and the animated series Batman. That's my shit.
Oh, really?
That is my shit.
Batman.
So that's what I need. I didn't actually watch that that movie though. I need to. I have it. I haven't watched it yet though.
I think is that what he means by versus animated Batman? No, I think Matthew Charles means
to see it.
Your animated Shredder that you just opened versus.
Yeah,
I thought he was talking about that movie because in that movie, Shredder and Batman do cross paths. That's as much as I'm
sure that's badass.
Tell you. And that's another thing with Turtles and the licensing up here. There was a Mikey in a Batman costume made by DC Direct.
It was DC. I think they were still DC Collectibles at that time, but yeah,
right.
And CJ did the cape, right?
Cape by the homie CJ.
That's crazy.
Which
that's a get.
That figure was not sold up here.
That's crazy.
Because whoever has a license, like Playmates, or whoever has a license for all the Turtle stuff up here, I guess they couldn't sell it up here. I had to import that.
I do know they're weird with the licenses. Like NECA has all kinds of crazy stuff with their licenses. Like they could only sell at conventions at first, and I don't know how they ended up getting around that. But we were talking about that on with Fabio on the ACBA podcast the other day.
Right.
That Randy apparently knows all these crazy loopholes for how to release what he wants to release.
Yeah, it's like release it on our own website. We're not a store. We can sell whatever.
We're a shop.
Yeah. we're an e-store.
So I'm not super impressed with the cape on this figure, I have to say. I guess for the dollar amount, you're not going to get a wired cape or anything, but I wonder if I'll have to see if somebody makes a good wired cape for him.
How do I switch to you? Oh, there we go.
Oh God, don't do that.
No, it's for the toy, not
the head doesn't go back very far, obviously, because that's a pretty hard plastic. But these are all, we were talking about sharp pieces before. These are all like a soft rubber, but they still look nice. That's the benefit of the cartoon style, I feel like, is that
I don't think I would have been able to tell the difference had you not mentioned that. Which is a good thing, right?
Yeah, even this, that looks like it would be sharp, but that's pretty soft right there. Another thing, I would like thigh cuts on these too. I don't know why thigh cuts are so hard for people to do, but you do get a lot of turning motion on the legs. Really good double joints. The upper one, the arm one is kind of hindered a little bit by the the gauntlet thing, but it's a pretty solid figure though. I think it's going to photograph well. I wish it was a little more cell shaded like the newer ones are. I feel like they could have gone a little more crazy with that. Did you see? I think it was John Connor. It was definitely John Connor. Had the Optimus Prime. I think it's like a knockoff or something that's cell shaded. Like
that's one of the first cell shaded action figures I've seen.
It's insane.
It looks so good.
It looks so good. So that's like almost everything I see pales in comparison to that now.
But if you go into that realm, you kind of have to have everything. All of your environments, your dios have to be the same theme, or else it just kind of doesn't fit. I saw this dio today. I can't remember the guy's. It's like
that was Brian Gallo, I'm sure.
The cell shaded dio.
Between the Devil and the Deep Blue Sea is his name. And it's insane. It doesn't look like it's a physical diorama.
It
does
looks
not
like
at all.
someone painted a 2D photo
Yep.
or a painting, but they're actual dio pieces that are
Yep.
leveled out.
Looks like a video game or something. Even
Yeah.
the bricks are painted on, just like those little, like, it's mostly just a solid color, but there's just enough of the sort of hatching,
like a little group of 7 or 8 bricks, not even complete.
That is such an art too, because that I don't have any feel for that sort of thing. Like, another thing, I haven't done it in years now, but I used to customize mini mates too. So I still am. I'm obsessed with the Earth's Mightiest Heroes Avengers cartoon.
Right.
We never got mini mates based on that, so I made some myself. So there's a guy who owns.
Oh, that's right. Yes, you used to you make your own costumes and.
So you basically
them out. Yeah, I remember.
Print them on like this decal paper, and you apply it to the figures, and it's a pain in the ass, frankly. But I actually really, really like this. Is again just enough to be dangerous in Photoshop. The guy who owns Luke's Toy Store, who's like the major mini mate seller at this point, he made like this template for people to use because he's just very good about sharing his knowledge and sharing his templates and tips and all things like that. And I used to, design my own Earth's Mightiest Heroes figures. And so, like with Captain America, for example, he's got the scales. But it looks weird if you do every single scale, and that takes fucking ever.
Yeah.
I have no feel for how to do what Brian Gallo does there, which is just like this little splotch that gives you the illusion that the whole thing is scaled.
Right. And then what I was trying to say was, like, about that dial was, it looks beautiful, but once you put in a figure that's not cell shaded, the whole thing is just like, it kind of takes away from the beauty of that dial, because I'd scroll through later pictures where it's a different angle of just the dial. I'm like, man, can you do ACBA of just a dial and no figures? Because I think it's a work of art just looking at it.
Yep. But yeah, it looks a little weird when Spider-Man not cell shaded is in there, stuff like that. I agree.
There's the Mafex comic Spider-Man you could put on there.
I actually have here.
Nice.
That's a good segue. So I have a weird relationship with Spider-Man. If you asked me, I would say before 3 or 4 years ago, if I was a Spider-Man fan, I'd say hell yeah. Mm-hmm. I started to realize just over time, I'm like, when you haven't really read or liked the comics for Spider-Man in 20 years, are you really a Spider-Man fan anymore? Like, there's been little runs here and there, but in general, I don't know. I would say I like the character, but I don't know. I've just kind of had this epiphany that I'm not as big a fan as I thought I was or used to be or whatever. And especially most people hold them up as their favorite,
I definitely know what you mean, because I was going to ask you, you do animated series, X-Men and Batman. I mean, the Holy Trinity there for me in that era is also with Spider-Man. So I was going to say, how does Spider-Man animated series fit into your collection or your own fandom?
Well, it gets easier now, because they have it on Disney Plus, which I started watching. I've watched the first. I'm really slow at watching stuff too. My wife gets frustrated with that when we try to, like, we're on episode 6 of the Queen's Gambit. It's been out for 3 weeks or something. So we'll watch 2 episodes. It's always on me. We'll watch 2 episodes, and then a week later we'll watch 2 or 3. So like I'm only like maybe 5 episodes into that. I saw most of, if not all, back in the day, but it's good for a refresher. It helps a little bit that Hasbro's doing those animated, at least carded figures that are sort of painted the right way. I could see myself doing it, but really, if Hasbro went the full, distance and really gave us like figures that look like the versions from the cartoon, I would be all over it.
Right. Okay. So the cartoon does have some space in your nostalgia. Definitely.
Honestly, that's probably the thing that got me into Spider-Man, and that sustained me for most of my life to this point where I'm just kind of like, it's not my favorite. I haven't even watched all of Spectacular Spider-Man, which is like blasphemy because people love that. I've seen maybe, I would say, the first 10 episodes of it, and I just kind of stall out. I always stall out at the same point, and then I go back. When I start watching it a year and a half later, I start at the beginning and get to the same point again.
Which one was Spectacular Spider-Man?
Spectacular was the one. So Greg Wiseman, I think his name is. I think he did like Young Justice and stuff. He did that. It was like a Sony thing, 2008, I think it was. I don't even know what channel that was on. But it's like, it's a different animation style, I would say. It almost looks kiddie, but it's really not. It's actually a fairly like mature show other than the sort of design style. I know I'm breaking Cap Lips' heart right now, and everybody's talking about how great Spectacular Spider-Man is.
You bring up Ninja Turtles, Cap Lives will say, 2003. You bring up Spider-Man, he's got another one. The only thing he and I agree on is Power Rangers, because now I'm going back in time to watch that stuff.
So he's not about the original group, though, right? He hates that group because he's one of those damn kids.
I don't think he was born yet.
No, I don't think he was either.
I think that's not even a gem. I don't think he was born yet.
He's like 18 or something.
Bjorn says, "Did you not read the Superior Spider-Man? That run was amazing."
I was reading out of obligation up until that started, and then I read maybe 2 or 3 issues of that at the time, and I'm not a big fan of Dan Slott is the problem, and he wrote Spider-Man for most of that time period I was talking about. Usually when someone else took over, I would like it, and then just Dan Slott comes back, and I'm just not a big fan. As soon as I think the spoiler moratorium on Superior Spider-Man has ended by now. As soon as at the end of the first issue, you see there's like a ghost Peter Parker. Done. Goodbye. I'm out. You just killed him in like this big issue 600 thing.
Yeah.
And, now Dr. Octopus is in his body and everything. And now you have this it just seems so like stupid 80s. Like you get
Was it a ghost, or was it like his conscious and still living in his body or something?
Yeah.
Right?
Yeah.
I mean, that's comics, isn't it? Nobody dies.
It is, but it was just like you couldn't even wait a couple issues to get to that. It was, I don't know. It just felt like I just groaned and I closed the issue and I just put it away and I haven't revisited it since.
Hey, Superman died in the movie and was hinted at being reborn like in the same.
Yeah, that's true.
Right?
That's true.
Travel was shaking. The movie, like the credits didn't even roll. Wait, was it a post credits? Because then that would be true. Is it still the same movie?
I think it was the post credits, I believe. Yeah. No, you're right. You're right. I don't necessarily like that. Like I like for the most part. So that's a Black Series, right? You said?
Yes, sir. Kit Fisto.
That guy was in Attack of the Clones, right? He was one of those Jedi at the end.
Yeah, I think he was on the big battle at Geonosis.
Okay.
I think he died with Palpatine.
Okay.
From Palpatine when they all. My theory is that Mace Windu was going to go confront Palpatine. There were no Jedi around, and then he just got like a couple janitors from the Jedi Temple. Like, guys, can you just hold these lightsabers and at least look like just wait a little bit? Because then Palpatine cut right through them like a hot knife through butter, and I'm just like, these guys are not ready. There's no way they were real Jedi. I think, there's a lot of suggestions for you. In terms of Spider-Man reading material, Cap Live says, hate is a strong word. MMPR in the comics is fantastic.
Okay.
The show is less than stellar.
I'm sure it ages horribly, especially if you were born like several years after that even started. I'm sure it's like impossible to watch for you. I get that. That's the only Power Rangers I ever watched, though, was when it was first on, 1992 or 3.
Dude, I think we're basically like in the same boat.
Yeah.
I think we're the same age, went through the same shows at the same era.
Yep.
Like you said, I love my Marvel stuff and I love Batman.
Yep.
I have 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7 Batman displays, like shelves, and then one that's Justice League, and then one that's villains. That's it.
So just general DC villains or Batman villains?
I have a Batman villains shelf that goes into that the diorama that came with the video game with the TV monitors in the back.
Oh yeah. Yep.
So all the Batman villains are in that one, and the next one over it has a bunch of the rogues from Flash, Build-A-Figure, King Shark.
Did you ever get that Clayface that they did near the end? That looked awesome. It was like a modern Clayface. Mattel did.
No. unfortunately. Did you ever notice that those DC figures, a lot of them, when you open them up, the plastic smelled really, really strong and terrible?
I didn't buy enough to probably notice that, because anytime I bought one, I almost without fail, I was disappointed in a Mattel DC figure.
It was on WB. How dare you? So I watched Clone Wars, and overall, I do love Clone Wars. There's a lot of filler episodes that I don't care for, but I'm going back and I'm rewatching like season 5, season 6, and it's pretty good. So cool your jets, Cap.
So, you know, what's funny about Clone Wars is I just, so we finished The Mandalorian, and I said to myself, I'm going to go back and watch the Clone Wars, because I had watched, I would say maybe half the first season a bunch of years ago. It was before, you know, way before it was easy to find. I had like, I don't know, shitty DVD versions or something. And I remember liking it all right. It was fine. It wasn't the most mind-blowing thing. I thought it was a little overhyped for what it was, but I started watching it, and I'm like, I looked up like the viewing order, because there's like a 2003 cartoon called The Clone Wars, and then a couple years later there's a CGI The Clone Wars, and then there was a Clone Wars movie, and I had no idea where to start. So I made the mistake of looking up the viewing order, and like, is that first cartoon version even, do I even need to watch it? And then I found that they, like, that story was told completely out of sequence, apparently, The Clone Wars.
There's a lot of stuff that, yeah, if you want to watch it chronologically, there is an online viewing guide for.
Yeah, and it's insane.
Yeah,
it's absolutely insane. It's like you start with like season 3, episode 3 and 4, and then you go back to season 1. It's crazy, and I kind of lost interest immediately. I have kind of a low time. Like, I don't watch a lot of stuff. I kind of just prefer to spend my time, like, I don't know, with this stuff, and I don't even know what else. Video games, but mostly older video games that nobody plays anymore. And I don't know. I just don't watch a bunch of stuff, so it's hard for me to get into the Clone Wars, because that's such an undertaking too. But I hear so much of it is great, especially the later stuff. I wish I could just jump to the later stuff and start there.
Of Clone Wars?
Yeah.
Oh, you can just look up the episodes where it's the Mandalorian War, which kind of ties into the Mandalorian TV show. A little bit of backstory there. The Darksaber is in there. There's a lot of Darth Maul.
See, Darth Maul's badass. Yep.
Yeah. So he's in there, and it builds up his character a lot more than the 3 sentences you hear him in the actual movie.
I think I need to just push through at some point and watch it all.
Captain McKay Random says, I only saw the Genndy Tartakovsky Clone Wars.
That's what it was.
Which was the first series that was from Cartoon Network. I really like the character designs. They have like 3 3/4 inch scale, I believe, figures from that wave or from that movie, which look incredible. And that was the artist for Dexter's Lab.
Samurai Jack, right?
Yeah, all that stuff.
Yep.
Which is cool. And then there was a bit of backstory for General. I think it shows how General Grievous got his, or why he keeps getting that, why he keeps coughing and all that stuff, something like that. And then there was the movie, which I have the Blu-ray of, which I don't think I ever even watched it.
So the actual movie, like episode 2.
No,
the movie. Yeah. Okay.
Blu-ray, something like that.
I tried to watch Attack of the Clones as part of that whole viewing order thing I was talking about, and I don't even think I made it 5 minutes. I'm like, whew, I don't think I could do this. It's not good. I'm sorry. That's another thing. It's like this Spider-Man thing. I realized, I guess, with this newest trilogy that I'm not as big a Star Wars fan as I thought I was. And that's fine. You know, yeah. I don't hate on people that are. It's just, it's not for me. I don't know.
I like Star Wars more now than I did when I first was a fan.
Yeah.
It's kind of gone. It's actually the forefront of my collecting right now, Star Wars, even though I'm purging most of my sequel trilogy figures. I'm trying to because I don't care about the First Order. They're kind of losers, and I just need space.
Yeah.
There's a Sentinel incoming. Did you order any Sentinels?
I got one Sentinel.
Right. You have to with the X-Men stuff that you're shooting.
Right. And I honestly, it goes back to my rule. I can't shoot 2, so I don't need to. And I don't know where the hell I'd put them. Because again, if you saw my room, it ain't pretty.
Yeah, for sure.
So no, I'm really excited for that one. I'm trying to decide if I want to sell off any of the like the extra figures that come with it or not. I like Bastion. I don't know that I need the little Sentinel, Prime Sentinel or whatever.
Right.
I don't know that I need that, but I'm really excited for the Sentinel though. That's one of those things I've kind of put like that comes out spring or summer. September. Okay. Yeah, it's gonna be a surprise when it's shipping. I mean, I'll know from people talking about it, but I'm not following it closely enough. It's kind of like the back of my mind, and I'll be pleasantly surprised when it comes out.
The money's gone. I don't want to think about it, right?
Exactly.
What about the House of X wave?
Oh yeah,
Yeah.
I'm excited for that. I'm very much into the. I tried to be a completist with the Dawn of X stuff. I find Excalibur to be unreadable though.
Okay.
X Factor is pretty tough to read also. But for the most part, I'm reading everything that's happening right now. I'm like halfway through X of Swords. I don't know what to think yet. I'll see where it goes. Hickman, a lot of times, is a slow starter, but I gather people didn't love that event. But I'm very excited for the figures that are going to come from it. That Wolverine looks awesome.
Yes, with the unshaven head sculpt and the that's the X-Force. It's on the X-Force buck, I believe.
Yes, I think so.
So
He's nice and like he's squat, he's short, he's bulky, he looks great. It's a good costume. It's like a throwback with a couple little modifications. I don't love Cyclops' new costume though, I have to say. Just
I'm
kind of
good
like
with
a color swap of the one you have.
this and the 80s arcade style one that I have up there. Let's see. Oh, by the way, I have to say, speaking kind of face to face for the first time, thank you. You nominated, or did you chose my photo in that Infinity Equation photo contest?
Yeah, I forgot about that. Yeah, I forgot that
awesome.
was because it was a non-partial process. I thought it was the best one. But yeah, you're welcome for that.
It's funny because when Cal saw it, he's like, "Hey, he's got a case of Molson Canadian there." He instantly recognized the prop.
Yeah,
and
that is authentic Canadian.
Yes,
you can feel it in the photo.
Should have added more references in there.
More Canada flair.
Man, so this
a Timmy Ho Ho's cup in there somewhere.
Oh, you know what? Yeah,
get the 3D printer out.
3D print a coffee cup. I'll get some. I don't know.
Get a
like a high-res scan of a cup. Print it out with my fiance's Cricut.
There you go.
Cricut machine, and yes, thank you. Yeah. Okay.
And then just find Cal Dodd's address and just mail it right to him.
That's creepy. Actually, I think he would. When there were still toy shows and conventions, I think he was at one of them signing autographs. And I kind of wish I had gone to his booth.
Seems like a good guy. He has no problem doing the voice either. It's not like he's sick of it,
I would have gotten him to record, like saying "morph" as my. If people still had their ringers on and used ringtones, it would have been that or my voicemail message.
At one point, it would have been the away message, and that just wouldn't have worked. On AIM,
the guy who does the Spider-Man, the 70s one, the really old Spider-Man cartoon, he was at one of these shows, and you know that meme where it's Spider-Man sitting at a desk.
Oh yeah.
I did that, recreated that in a shot, ACBA shot, and I printed it out, and he autographed it. But I don't think he really knew what was going on, or that that scene had become. I mean, as a voice actor, you wouldn't know everything that you're voicing, right?
Especially from the 70s, he probably barely remembers all that shit.
Yeah. But what we talked about, how stuff ages. You know what the worst is to watch? Is the voice actors for the Ninja Turtles trying to redo their voices from 20-something years ago.
That is interesting.
There was a YouTube video where they were redoing a scene from Seinfeld, but in like their turtle voices, and each turtle was a different and like
I'm a big Seinfeld guy, so I wonder if I would appreciate this or cringe hard at it.
No, it didn't work.
No.
The actual content itself is irrelevant. It could have been anything. It could have been Shakespeare. It's just the fact that they were trying I don't know if you're a big Shakespearean enthusiast,
I'm not, but I get it. I get references occasionally.
but the fact that they were trying so hard to do these voicing, I couldn't place like which turtle exactly are you? I know one of you is Raph, but like it was tough to watch.
I think one of them, I think it was Donatello from the original one, played one of the turtles in the 2012 one.
Oh, no way.
I think so. I could be wrong on that, but I don't think so.
Cap Lives can be our fact checker for.
Get him on the payroll, whatever the pay is. What do I get paid for this?
This is
Is this pro bono?
People to buy the cards. That's the
Hey, I'll take it. That's pretty good.
The Addicto. What's going on, man? He says Seinfeld. He's got some Seinfeld love.
There we go. Cap Lives came through. The voice of Raph in the 80s cartoon, voiced Donnie in the 2012 show.
2012 Don. Oh, here we go.
Yep.
There's a payroll.
You notice it too. Like especially if you know that fact, but I think even if you don't, you'd kind of be like, oh shit, that voice is familiar.
That's so cool. That Jessica Cruz was impossible to find, so Clayface was tough.
Yep.
Which one is Jessica Cruz? Is she the?
She was the Green Lantern, I think.
Oh, right. Man, there was a lot of good DC. Is Matthew Charles the guy who always hashtags DC love in his?
That's Mr. DC Love himself.
Yes, I think that name sounds familiar. What's going on, man?
Zurinar on I think that's how you pronounce it on Instagram.
Oh, can't remember everyone's name handle, but that's the not rainbow, but multicolored.
Yes,
Batman, right?
Yep.
Sweet. All right, I'm gonna open this thing up. At least you were a fan of the Mandalorian.
Yeah. So I would say that the first season I kind of started. I don't know. I was watching it and people were talking about how great it was and everything, and I was kind of like, yeah, it's cool. I wasn't. So I just dropped the leg of Mr. Comic Paint Spider-Man here. So that's somewhere in the ether. But yeah, I watched the first season and I wasn't quite as into it as some people were, just because I'm not, I don't know, hardcore Star Wars fan. But I would say I definitely like the second season better. Just, what was cool about that? Like, I don't know. I think like diversity and stuff is important. I don't know. I don't like to sound or anything, but it was cool because I was watching it with my wife, and that whole final like crew, it's like most of them are diverse in some way. There's a whole bunch of badass chicks that you don't think about. Like it was so good. It was so diverse and so good with diversity that you don't even think about it. And that's perfect. That's exactly what everyone should be aiming for.
Yeah.
Is that you just realize these are like 6 badass characters. I don't give a shit what they are. I don't even think about who they are. They're just good written characters that you want to see, you want to watch.
When it's Fennec, Cara Dune, and the 2 Mandalorians leaving that ship, the shuttle that they came in, and they're crossing that bridge.
Yeah,
like this is so freaking badass.
Mm-hmm.
And then stormtroopers are coming, so the 2 of them fly off to the side. Like,
dude, exactly.
Like, and then I'm like, yo, this is 4 females. I don't feel like it was pushed onto me.
Not at all.
But then
not in the least.
Somebody out there is going to be triggered by this.
Totally.
They will say, oh, there's some SJWs out there trying to force strong. First of all, why would it be bad to provide strong female characters?
No, I don't get it.
I'm sure it's a very small vocal minority that feel that.
I think that's true.
They don't want to see
I hope that's true.
But yeah, I hope usually when you hear a complaint, it's just it stands out more.
Yeah.
But yeah, that was badass. I mean, you had like an Asian American actor there on the stage.
You realize she's like 53 or 54 or something, right?
If the saying is that black don't crack, for me it's Asians don't raisin.
Yeah,
that would be the equivalent.
Asians don't age.
Yeah, she's incredible. I mean, 80s baby who was in here earlier. I don't know if he is still. He hasn't seen Mulan, but she's the voice of Mulan. He knows she's Chun-Li. I thought he was making a comment earlier. I was trying to get him canceled. He's like, yeah, but Chun-Li over there. And then I remember, oh, right, she was actually Chun-Li in Street Fighter. I felt kind of bad. But yeah, she's fantastic. And she's going to keep getting more series. I loved Agent May
Yep.
in Shield. And I think Shield was one of the coolest things was that it was a direct tie-in to the movies. Like
It lost me over time, but the
Yeah.
first 3 or 4 seasons, my wife and I, it was like appointment viewing. I mean, it wasn't always top shelf, but it
No.
was at least like, especially anytime a movie was coming up and they were going to have some kind of tie into it, most of those were really good.
Yeah, because they had an Asgardian show up. I think
Yep.
was it Sif that showed up?
Yep.
Yeah.
And that felt like a big get. I don't know. Like for the TV show, I thought that was a pretty good get.
Did they have other? Did Sam Jackson ever show up?
He was in it once or twice. Maria Hill was in it once or twice.
Right.
Kobe Smulders. I should use her actual name, not, you know.
Yeah. So let me see. Berserk says Mandalorian did a great. Endgame felt forced. I could see that it's not as bad. Endgame, the all-female scene. I thought that was well. Plus the Peter Parker at the end.
I do agree with that a little bit, though, that it was like they set out to write it that way. It wasn't like all these people happened to be. It was like, no, let's have a scene with all the women, which honestly I don't have a problem with. But it definitely, I know what they were doing as opposed to just like, oh, wait a second, all these people are female, you know? I thought that was the coolest part of The Mandalorian for me.
Did you watch the Boys?
No, I haven't watched that. I'm not good with like, I don't know. I'm not huge on like gory stuff, and I know the comic at least was really like visceral, and it's just not my style. But I hear the show's really good. I should probably watch it at some point.
It's great. I don't think I ever read the comic, but I actually heard that there's stuff on the comic that they couldn't do on the show.
Yeah, I believe it.
If you've seen the amount of gore and some of the stuff that they go through,
you can only imagine what the comic is.
Exactly.
Yeah.
But they kind of have. I don't know. Do you plan on watching it anytime soon?
Not anytime soon. I'll probably forget about whatever you're going to tell me by the time it happens.
Awesome.
By the time I watch it.
They kind of have a scene where it's like a bunch of female superpowered. I think they kind of do it in a more of a satirical way where they say like girls get it done, but then it was introduced to the show that like, oh, they're pushing these superheroes and they're trying to do a marketing thing where it's like girl power, girls get it done, but then they end up with these female superheroes actually kicking the ass of one of the main characters, and then one of the guys is like, oh my god, girls really do get it done, so it ends up being a joke on itself. And I thought that was really hilarious.
Yeah, so I like that.
When I saw that on Mandalorian, I was like, yo, girls get it done.
But no, that was just a cool, like, you can't write it that way. You just have to like build up those characters in a way that you start caring about them and you think they're badass. And then when you write that, people just aren't thinking that way.
Yeah. Well, I mean, Sasha Banks for Costa?
I don't even remember what her name is, but
Someone mentioned it earlier.
Yeah, it is something Reeves, I think.
She's already badass as it is. And then she's, dissing Boba Fett, which is this sacred Star Wars character in that restaurant or that bar. And she's holding her own, if not.
The facial expressions were really good.
Yeah.
Yeah. Because honestly, she was better than, because I watch wrestling too. I'm not, I was more into it a couple years ago. I've ever since like the empty arena shows and all that started happening, I haven't really been watching it, but I'm very familiar with Sasha Banks, and she was way better on The Mandalorian than I thought she was going to be.
Nice.
She's not the best actress in the world when it comes to wrestling, but she did really well in that.
Oh my god. Here we
That's
go.
badass. That was always my favorite type of stormtrooper from the original
Stormtrooper?
Yep.
Yeah.
Yep.
I love the costume.
Yep. The snowtroopers are cool too, but these ones that's awesome.
I actually like it. Well, early on in the Black series, I took his head off and put on Greedo's head as an unmasked version. But then I don't think they had many alien troopers, did they?
I don't think so. At least not in the early. That may have happened in like the sequel trilogy or something, though.
because I think the Empire is supposed to mirror like Nazis and that
Yeah.
whole kind of thing. I don't think they were really into letting aliens
Right.
into the ranks.
Yeah, they were a little heavy-handed with that in Force Awakens, that's for sure. With all the Nazi parallels.
Oh yeah, imagery with
Yeah.
the huge crowds and the big red banners and
Yeah.
for sure.
It was very, hitting you over the head with it for sure. These are the bad guys, just so you know.
Sasha Banks hitting that sick tornado. I don't watch wrestling. I'm assuming that's some sort of.
So I can tell you, I can maybe act this out with some figures here. Let's ignore that Spider-Man is missing one leg right now. So you're going to jump up on Shredder. You're going to wrap your arm around his head like this. You're going to spin, and then you're going to drive his head into the ground.
Oh, she did that.
So,
did she run off the wall or something? And
yes.
do that?
Yeah, exactly. She kind of had him and then ran off the wall and then, drive his head into the ground, basically.
Badass.
Yep. Sometimes it's really cringy when they try to work like, oh, you're a wrestler, so let's have you do a wrestling move. But I thought it actually kind of worked. It was kind of cool.
I guess it wasn't a problem for me because I'm not familiar with wrestling, or I wouldn't have recognized that that's a real world move versus something from a galaxy far, far away.
Right.
So
it couldn't have stuck out too much then in the bad way.
No, it was fine. It was fantastic for me. There's a little baby Grogu in here. That's just his head.
That's pretty cool. That's pretty cool.
And I believe this one is Jason Sudeikis that punches him.
Yeah, I forgot about that. Yeah.
This is cool, man. Now I have 3 of these. I don't know why. I have no space for them.
I like the episode specific things like that. That's exactly why I like the animated series figures, because they have like, all right, here's like a telescope that Joker used in that episode and stuff like that. So that's the same sort of thing. You could do photography based on that actual scene, which I like.
Not many aliens in the Empire, which is why Thrawn being such a high-ranking officer is rare. Yeah, like he, as a tactician, he was crazy. I think I was reading the comics, which shows kind of how he got with the Empire.
Is that like the new Marvel Star Wars stuff? They delved into him more?
Yeah.
Yeah.
And I think there was an actual novel for his story too.
I do know he's a Chiss. I've played enough video games to know that that's his race.
Well, I mean, he's one of those characters that made it through from the expanded universe into canon. So he's been around, which is awesome. Disney Gallery, they talking about casting her. No, Albert, I don't watch wrestling. There's only so much time I have, right?
There's a lot of wrestling too.
There's a lot of wrestling. I know who Hulk Hogan is.
Oh God!
What year is that?
I mean, unfortunately, he still pops up every once in a while. I think he popped up on Monday actually, but yeah, he hasn't been relevant, I would say, since 2000, probably 2000. He's been around some since then, but he hasn't done a whole lot.
Monday Night Raw, is that a thing?
Monday Night Raw, that's it.
Okay, there you go.
They have their Legends nights every so often where they're desperate for ratings and football's off the air. And that's when they bring up Hulk Hogan.
Why are you booing me? I don't know any. So the only wrestler I do know, you're going to boo me? Like, give me a break.
Well, Hulk Hogan said some racist shit.
Oh, did he?
Oh, yeah. Oh, very, very bad stuff. Very, very bad. No. He was like secretly recorded, and yeah, it was bad.
Okay,
towards black people specifically. Although I'm sure he's not a fan of anyone that's not white, if I had to guess.
Well, looks like I'm gonna have to change my point of reference for wrestling.
Stone Cold. You can't go wrong with Stone Cold. Everybody likes Stone Cold.
The Rock. Everyone loves The Rock.
Everyone loves The Rock too.
Bjorn says Asian people only watch Kung Fu.
Oh, God.
So here's the thing. Maybe I'll ask when Bjorn is on. Or Bjorn, if you're listening, you can answer. You can hear me. Or you hear me, you can answer. Brandon, do you watch Cobra Kai?
No, that's one of those 80s things I was just too young to really care about. And
right. Okay, me too. So
I hear it's good, but
Yeah, I hear it's good. I hear like Karate Kid is obviously a cultural, iconic film that
Right.
you know that people refer to a lot and they grew up with. But to me, I'm like, I don't. I think I watched it once when it back then, and it never stuck out to me. And it kind of speaks to Bjorn's point. Is like I've been watching all these like kung fu movies and like Jet Li back in the day, Jackie Chan, and all that stuff. And like, am I supposed to like Karate Kid for the story?
Right.
What's the appeal to me? I'm probably gonna catch a lot of hate for this. Like, oh, Kevin doesn't like Cobra Kai.
Cancel Kevin.
Cancel Kevin. He only watches Jet Li and Jackie Chan. Like, maybe that I don't know. Maybe that's why it never kind of appealed to me. But man, what else do I have? You've been doing a lot more Mario shots.
Yeah, I've been so I did a South Park one today. I guess I'm in sort of like a different mood right now. Like I don't want to just do, I don't know, X-Men or whatever. Anything, because I had actually one of my Walgreens trips recently where I'm looking for any new mini-mate that may be coming out or any freaking new Marvel Legend they might have, and they have not had anything for a very long time. I needed something else to spend my money on, so I bought those Jack specific Matchbox ones, and I'm like, and it was very possible that me buying 5 of those right there, they were never going to actually get used. But I'm glad I've done 2 Mario Kart shots now.
Yeah, and they've been fantastic. They've been well received. We were talking before the actual feed how I was trying to comment "Let's go" in the comments, and autocorrect changed the A in the "Let's go" to another S.
So embarrassing.
It sounded like I was trying to be like relevant with these kids. Like, oh, let's go.
That's like mentioning Hulk Hogan, for example.
Oh, damn.
Hulk Hogan got canceled, brah.
All right, I'm gonna add that to like a sticky note on the side. Do not mention.
There you go. I may have to soak Casey Jones here in some hot water. His knees are a little tough. One of them, at least. He looks great, though. He really does.
No, that's one of the ones where I couldn't. It was hard to decide between the cartoon Casey Jones from NECA or the action figure version from Super 7.
Yeah.
Because I remember having that figure. I still have it.
I gotta look that one up.
Super 7 one has like it has that same green golf bag accessory with the green golf bag and then the weapons that comes with it too.
With the piece you push out, yeah, that's awesome. Like the plastic, like yeah. So Super 7, I'm not super up on them. They basically are based off of the old toys rather than like the actual source material, right?
From my understanding, like because we said how the licensing for Turtles is so complex, it seems like NECA does comic, cartoon, movie, and video game, and Super 7 is like action figure. So I think the only thing they can touch is recreations of the old action figures.
It's a decent niche, though.
Oh, it's the fact that they have that tray of weapons in the back.
Yeah, that's so good.
Ones, like
so good.
They said if I'm going to do just action figures, we're going to go all in and
do it right.
Do what we do. And
that's awesome.
And Sergeant Bananas, who's also a huge Turtles fan, is a photographer over there for Super 7. He's a huge fan of those toys. Is what on Netflix? Wolfpack, what's going on? Is what on Netflix? Cobra Kai is on Netflix. I don't know.
Yeah, I think that maybe he means Cobra Kai. But yeah, that's recently on Netflix, I think, right?
Which one?
Cobra Kai, because I think that was a YouTube thing originally.
Yeah, it wasn't like, I don't know. Someone could tell me. Season 1 was on YouTube, I think. And
I think 1 and 2 actually. They were trying to do original shows for a while, and then they just realized, well, this is not really our thing. So let's sell it, hopefully for a boatload of money for their sake, to Netflix. And I think Netflix made the new season.
I'm strictly the 4 Turtles because of budget. It is hard to be a Ninja Turtle collector because you're buying 4 of everything every time. So
yeah.
So the price, you're not just collecting a Batman, you're collecting 4 different.
And if you're missing 1 or 2, it feels useless. Trust me, I know.
That was the trap that I put myself in. I played myself completely because I said I'll get Super 7 because it's a little bit more expensive, but I'm not going to be hit with
Yeah.
buying all four of them at once. But then now I only have Raphael. I'm waiting for Leonardo, which is the next one that just came out. And it's that same shot that everyone does where it's like, oh, I can't wait. I'm so excited to get my brother out of this packaging.
Yeah.
Like cutting open the box. So I'm stuck waiting for each one to release. But damn, I love the Super 7 Turtles.
Those are 6-inch?
6-inch ish. Yeah, no, 7. That's why they're 7, Super 7.
See, I actually thought the 7 had to do, again, this is me not knowing much about it. I thought it had more to do with the number of articulated points on the original toys. That was where my mind went with that. Like they had the arms, the legs, the head. I don't know what else. I guess the waist.
Here we go. I mean, the articulation on these aren't that crazy either. If anything, I'm a little worried about this joint here.
No, that looks awesome. That looks just like because those are the figures I had.
Yeah, exactly.
My brother mostly had them, but I had them by proxy.
Well, all the ones I have are like the belts. The belts have come off. All the feet are scuffed everywhere from playing and throwing around.
Did they still clip in the same way, the belts? Like they had that little like rubber peg that would go through.
That's the one thing that I was looking forward to, but it's not a deal breaker for me. It doesn't have the little button in the middle of the R. But yeah, so, I know what you mean.
I get both sides of that. Like that's part of that figure for me. But also, like, why not clean it up if you could? I get it.
Maybe just make it there aesthetically, not functional. Like just put a little extra nubbin of plastic there, and it looks like the original peg. But it's cool that they went with the color schemes too, because remember all 4 turtles had a different shade of.
Yep.
Not even just shade of green. I think Donatello was straight
brown.
Brown, right?
Yeah.
So you're sticking with that too.
Yep, that's cool.
Yeah, man. I mean, you just got into the NECA Turtles. Maybe you'll take a dive into this.
We'll see. We'll see how much Raph and Michelangelo cost me. Catch up on. But yeah, Casey's awesome though. I really like this. It's got a little bit of ab crunch, not much, but better than nothing.
Right.
It's sort of got that McFarlane joint almost with which most of the McFarlane ones look really weird, especially from the first wave, where there's like that weird torso cut, Yeah.
It
just looks very odd to me. That ruined a lot of the first wave figures for me. They've gotten a lot better with it since, but
where does the NECA Turtle movie Turtles fit in for you?
It doesn't. So I was a fan of those the movies when they came out, but I haven't watched them that's one of those things. If I went back and rewatched them, I don't know if I'd be able to make it through it. I was definitely more of a cartoon guy. I actually just in general, I'm not big on movie figures. You'll never see, I don't own a single MCU like Marvel figure or anything. Just that's not my style.
Okay, that's fair.
I love the movies, but I don't want them in plastic form really. I don't know why.
But how would you rate the look of the figure?
Oh, they look awesome.
Right?
Yeah, especially what is it, Taka and Razor? Did I say that right?
That's another thing where Toka and Toka?
Toka? Okay. They look incredible.
Yeah.
Yeah, really, really good. If I was going to splurge on anything, it would have been them. Shredder, I think I hate the design from the movie so much that I have a hard time appreciating the figure, but it's definitely accurate, to what they were going for sure.
But it's hard to have Toka and Razor without the Super Shredder if you're doing a collection. Do you think they can get a license for Vanilla Ice? And can anyone tell me if Vanilla Ice has been canceled? I think I've heard that name float around recently.
I think he was canceled sometime early in the 2000s, but he's probably past that now. We've all forgotten about whatever he did or said.
Oh, boy.
I have memories of him on some of those VH1 like reality shows in the early 2000s. Like the rehab ones or like, they put a bunch of washed up celebrities in a house and they all, hate each other and that sort of thing.
And try to gain relevance.
Yeah, I'm sure he did something horrible on one of those shows, but Fun fact: my mom got kicked out of a Vanilla Ice concert once,
That is a fun fact.
Yeah. and she was thrown out by somebody who eventually became our neighbor. And she's always wondered, does he remember throwing me out of that concert, or do I just remember him throwing me out of the concert?
That's funny.
Yeah, I don't know what she did, and I don't really want to know what she did, frankly. But I've always liked that story.
Small world.
Small world, yeah.
Cap Lives is asking me my thoughts on the Power Rangers leaving Netflix. I'm obviously not too happy about it because I like the convenience of it being on Netflix, where I can just go back, find the episode I was on, and the last spot I was on. All the series were there, but I think the majority of them are leaving by the end of this month, both on Canada and Netflix and American Netflix. But it sucks because I'm trying to catch up on a lot of these series. But then again, there are other means of watching this stuff legally and illegally.
Apparently that made Darth Clueless feel old. I'm assuming that my mom was thrown out of a Vanilla Ice concert.
He was at a Vanilla Ice concert.
And then we have Ice Ice Security. That's pretty good too.
Still don't have a solid set of 4 turtles. Would you guys recommend Super 7 or NECA? I can't make that decision for you. I can tell you my thought process was I'm doing a mix of NECA and Super 7. I played with a lot of the turtle toys when I grew up, so I'm going with the characters that I really played with a lot. The main turtles would be Super 7, Shredder, where he's stuck in that permanent crouching pose back in the day.
Wait, they did that for the Super 7 also?
No, if they did that, there's no way I'm buying that. But I'm sure it has the articulation so you can simulate that. I have no idea where that Shredder robe is too that he comes with. So I'm gonna go with him. Super 7. Casey Jones. Splinter, I'm going with NECA. And
the NECA one looks incredible.
And NECA has, oh my god, Rat King.
Yeah, he looks awesome.
Yeah, man, Rat King is dope.
It's a weirdly good design. It doesn't seem like it should work, but it does. I don't know why, but he's a cool looking character for some reason. I don't know. Makes no sense to me.
He's just like a dirty sewer guy, but he's got like all the bandages wrapped around, and he's just, the character design is great. And that he could control Splinter, like he could mind control Splinter. How cool is that?
Yep. Who's the big green garbage monster thing? Because I remember that figure. Do you know who I'm talking about?
Garbage monster?
That's at least what it looks like to me. I remember having the action figure, but I couldn't tell you what his name was or what he was in the cartoon. Or
is it Mutagen Man? The one
maybe
that
Mutagen
like
Man.
a container for his body, and it's kind of.
I think so. That sounds right.
Yeah.
No, actually, no, that's not him.
Garbage guy.
Anybody in the comments know? This is so bad. See, I'm showing how much of a poser I am with buying these Ninja Turtles toys.
Muckman is the one that there's like garbage and all this stuff crawling. There's a lot
That's
of detail
probably Muckman
around his.
Yes, Muckman is awesome.
Mutagen Man, yes.
Yeah, Muckman is awesome. That I would have to get. Like, I don't know if NECA's ever going to make one of him, but the Super 7 version of that would be up my alley for sure.
Yeah,
I vividly remember that toy.
I think on the ACBA podcast the other night, I think that's where I heard it, where they said Super 7 already has licensing for Usagi Yojimbo.
Nice.
Which, the last figure of him was that Nickelodeon Turtles line, right?
I think so.
Mutagen Man.
Oh, so they changed it from Mutagen Man or Muckman to Mutagen Man? I don't know.
That's another one of those obscure, well, not like obscure, but more B-list.
Right.
But that's the thing that
he ain't going to make a movie anytime soon.
That's the thing that Super 7 is doing that we talked about, where if NECA was like the first 4 turtles sell out, you got to wait until they refresh or buy villains, whereas Super 7 you're being anchored for each wave with a turtle and then like a main villain, and then that's when you can slip in some of the characters that
Right.
not everyone knows about, but it's fun, or you want to make it, or personally, if you're the toy company, or if you want to just add the accessories on. So it's cool that they have that at least going.
It's an easy 4 waves right there too.
Yeah.
If you're doing turtle stuff, right off the bat, it's easy. The only thing that's probably sucks is, what do they come out with, a wave a year, or is it more than that? So you got to wait 4 years to get all 4 turtles. Is that?
I think it's not that
Not as bad.
Maybe like 6 to 7 months, because
That's not too bad.
Leonardo is just coming out now, I believe, soon, and then Raphael was maybe a few months ago, at most.
I got to shoot Casey Jones. That's probably going to be the first one of these I shoot.
So with the new set of cards, you said you're putting up an X-Men wave soon. Yeah, you've already done a couple sets for X-Men. You've done a couple sets.
So I've only done 1 X-Men so far, actually. And then I just kind of got carried away. So I did the X-Men ones first, and then I got carried away and did 30 of the Batman ones. So 3 sets. And then now I have 10 cards done for the X-Men ones. I just need to pretty much make the cards, like put them in templates, basically design them, that sort of thing. Write the, because I even do like the descriptions in the back.
Right.
You know, both sides of the card are pretty authentic, I have to say.
No, they're definitely a quality thing.
Definitely tried for that.
Are there any things that you want to add, or that you're going to try to do, and like you've done already this many cards, pictures? Is there anything that you want to do that you haven't been able to do yet for the cards?
So one thing I really, really want to do, and I'm finding it hard to pull it off. So for the Batman ones, so there was a weird number of episodes. I think it was 85 episodes, and I want to make 9 sets. So I need to come up with 5 more things, Batman things, that I can make cards of. So a couple of those are easy. You get like Mask of the Phantasm is easy. Sub-Zero, the like straight to DVD movie, is easy. And then there's a couple I have to be more creative with. So one of the ones I've had an idea of doing was the Super Nintendo game. I need to be able to, like, it's going to have to be a crazy setup. And do I shoot that sort of side-scrolling view? Is that going to be interesting? Is that going to look good? Or do I do just a dynamic shot that isn't necessarily 2D side-scrolling, but it has like the background from one of the levels, a character from one of the levels, maybe even like some pixelation, you know, like a 32-bit sort of design aesthetic to it. Stuff like that is kind of what I'm trying to figure out, how to round out that 85 into a 90 without it being like, oh, I don't want this. Like, this is dumb. You know? I'm trying to be creative with how I can fill out those last 5.
I have your page on the share screen right now.
So the way I did it was, there's 10 cards. It's the only thing I couldn't do with these that makes it less authentic than it would have been back in the day, is that you're not going to get duplicates. I would have loved, like, if I could have gotten all 90 of these done and then released them in just random 10 packs that would piss everybody off. That would have been really cool, but obviously terrible business practice. So yeah, the only thing that you're missing, like, you know, series 1, there's 10 cards. You're going to get those 10 cards. Obviously that's the only way to do something like this now, but that's like the one thing I wasn't able to do sort of authentically. That right there, that's probably one of my favorite shots I've ever taken. That was with the Mondo 12-inch animated series. And we talked about cell shading. That, I don't like to, you know, toot my own horn or anything, but that looks like CGI to me. You know what I mean? That looks like it's a damn cartoon. And that shot, like, that's exactly what I try to do. Dude,
all the textures on the figure, like, you brought it out along with the focus and the background, man. It's seamless. This is crazy.
Yeah.
And you show here.
So this is pretty much what you get. This is what it looks like. They don't give you much time in these videos, so I had to speed it up. So these were different than the X-Men ones in that this card sort of the framing of it was all original. Like there were technically animated series trading cards, and they were just garbage, absolute garbage, mailed in, just terrible. So I came up with what I thought looks like the animated series. It's what they would have looked like if they actually gave a shit back in the day, and it wasn't just kind of a cash grab.
I mean, this is incredible.
So that's another one straight from, screenshot, a 1080p Blu-ray rip, basically cut out the crowd. And that's another one where I'm watching it, that Zatanna figure cannot do very much. So I need to think, what is something that I can do with her articulation that still looks interesting? Almost always. Like sometimes I kind of blur the line, and I don't love this part of it, but it's a necessity. When I'm doing the Batman animated series stuff, I have to be heavy on cutouts, and I have to do vanilla poses because sometimes that's all they can do. Those figures just don't have enough articulation to really do more than that.
I know sometimes you cut out the person's head from the cartoon and put it on the body, and it seems like if you did a whole cutout of them from the scene, it's more of a dynamic pose.
Yeah,
then you can get the action figure with the cutout on its neck.
Right. So like I get, people haven't said this very often. I get it occasionally, but like what I do sometimes with these, it's not true ACBA, let's say, because the pose isn't the focus. I can't do that. So what I try to do is just make it all look and feel like the cartoon as much as I can.
Right.
So this is a good example. Bane, the Bane figure, I actually have him nearby. Hang on.
Well, I mean, it's a clean cropped and contained.
So let me show you how far his knee can actually move. All right. That's his leg all the way forward. And that's his leg all the way bent. You ain't getting a back-breaking pose with that.
Right.
So what I had to do was I find the actual still from the cartoon. I take a screenshot of it. I color match it to, it didn't end up mattering because you can't see his actual leg color in the photo.
Right.
Color matching it as close as possible to the figure's blue in Photoshop. Printed out a bunch of different sizes, and then just try to make the camera, cheat for me essentially.
Yeah.
So, because there's just literally no way I could do that otherwise. So I got good at cutouts out of necessity. That's what I always tell people. It's because there was no other option. I would love to do this stuff with like, Mayfex style figures or something, but if we're ever going to get those, it's going to cost me a fortune to get them.
Yeah, you mentioned there was a Batman. What is it?
The new Adventures Batman is coming. I think this spring. I think it is, which is exciting because the one we got from DC Collectibles is garbage. It's just It's one of the first ones they made. They were actually about to release a redo of it, and then the company got shut down. So thankfully, the Mayfex is coming because I don't think I can do. I would love to do cards for the new Batman Adventures, but the figures are so bad. Most of those were from early in the line. I can't do much with them.
Right.
So
was there anything else that you were waiting on DC Collectibles to make?
So they never made a Clock King, which, most people probably don't give a shit about the Clock King, but if I'm trying to do every episode, there's 2 Clock King episodes.
Yeah.
So now I'm going to have to, that's one of those things. I'm going to have to watch those episodes like almost frame by frame and try to find something usable. It's also a difficult, like I don't have any freaking clock tower dioramas or anything or gears or anything like that.
Yeah.
That one's going to be, I'll tell you, that's probably going to be in series 9 because it's going to take me a while to figure out what to do with that one.
Because he's like, somebody's tied up on one of the arms on the clock, right? So you have to get right up close.
Yeah.
And if you get a cutout for that, it's got to be super crispy.
Right. And I need to have figures in there somewhere. Like I'm not going to, knock on wood, I'm not ever going to do one of these that have no figures in it. That's not my goal. They need to have an action figure in there somewhere. This would be easier to do if I was just creating the scene and could use cutouts for whatever I wanted, but that's not the goal. So the goal is to, get a figure in there somewhere. So I'm going to have to be really creative with some of those.
Well, one of the cool things, the last line that they were able to get out was those characters. Can you describe it? Like how would you describe that wave? Like
so they
got that Azrael in there.
Yeah, it's almost, they called it Batman: The Adventures Continue.
Right.
So it was basically a bunch of figures they never got to in the cartoon or in the comics or anything like that. That they had Ty Templeton, who's one of like the premier Batman animated series artists. He wrote and drew a whole bunch of the tie-in comics. He's probably the most prolific person on any of those runs.
Right.
And they gave him the reins and said, "All right, design an Azrael, design a Dark Knight Returns style bat armor, design a I'm trying to think Deathstroke Red Hood, like the Jason Todd style Red Hood."
Right.
They even did some that are never going to come out, which kills me. They did a Vampire Batman, which looked awesome.
No way.
Yeah. They did. They were going to do a Talon from the Court of Owls, which that one kills me more than anything. Probably, I would have bought 3 or 4 of those. And yeah, that's one of my favorite runs from the comics is the Court of Owls. Trying to think of what else they did. They had 3 waves of these things planned, and didn't get to. They didn't get past one of those waves. So we got Azrael, Deathstroke.
Batman Who Laughs there.
Yep, Batman Who Laughs was another one of the. I think he was in wave 2. It's just it sucks. So a lot of it was either classic characters that just never made it into the cartoon, like Deathstroke, or characters that weren't even in existence when the show happened. Azrael came up during that show, but they just never wrote him in or anything, and that looks so damn cool. Like, and that's a good figure. Thankfully, that one came out. But yeah, look at that. That's just
recommended to me. I ended up pre-ordering it.
Yep, it kills me that this one didn't come out. As kind of silly as Vampire Batman, Flashpoint Batman. Yep,
big.
It kills me. Absolutely kills me. Because I know those prototypes are rattling around somewhere. Yeah, exactly. That's what we're stuck with, McFarlane. Unless you pick up this line, which I don't see happening.
I still have the DC Direct, the old Flashpoint Batman.
Yeah.
And I have the Real Action Heroes 12-inch.
Nice.
But man, I just love that. There's prototypes. That's the thing, right? I think you mentioned on the podcast. There's prototypes at this convention.
Out there somewhere.
That mold is somewhere. Yep. Please.
And I have a hard time believing none of them went into production. You know, especially Wave 2. Like they were supposed to release in November. And I remember I had them pre-ordered in 3 different places because I knew DC Collectibles was shutting down. And my thought was like, maybe one of these, like Amazon, Entertainment Earth, or Big Bad Toy Store, one of them is going to get a supply, right?
Maybe they got a case already that they were just holding for street date.
Yep. That was my thought. Amazon lasted the longest without canceling my order. The release date actually came, and then they canceled it. I was so bummed.
Man. We still wish they made the Icon figures. They look nice. I have a few of those Icon figures. It's I think that Green Arrow was probably one of my favorite Green Arrows available until I got the Mezco, which is you can't even pose that one.
Yeah.
You don't do Mezco, right?
No, I don't like Mezco. They do a couple characters well, like usually the sort of street level guys, they do okay. Like Daredevil was pretty good. I actually had him for a little bit, you know, like the red Daredevil, and I sold him just because I wasn't going to get more. I could get a good return for selling him. I'm just not a fan of them. They don't move well. You can't leave them posed for too long because that'll destroy the fabric.
Yeah,
a lot of reasons I don't like them.
That specific one, I think, if you didn't have them displayed in vanilla, there would be cracking and whatnot.
Yep, and what's the point? You know, even if I leave a setup overnight to work on it the next day, I'm worried that would, you know, keep a defect in the leather.
Cool. So it's 11:25. You want to call it in like 5 minutes?
Sure. I'm good for whenever, honestly. Whatever you want.
Like, you know, you recently became a father.
Yeah.
Congratulations. You've reserved. You did the right tactic, which was notify ahead of time.
Mm-hmm.
Your significant other, like, I'm not available tonight because I'm talking about toys on the internet.
Exactly. In the room next to you for most of the night.
Yeah, it's still got some house things to do, but you know, this is what it all comes down to. Well, Bjorn says congratulations. Yeah, Q&A. 5 minutes, guys. Pop off with your questions. I'll catch up with some of these comments, and then we can wrap it up at 11. Well, no, 5 minutes, whatever your locale is. Let's see. Modern.
I saw Cap Lives. I did do a baby doll card.
Yes.
I think that's in the third set, I believe. Favorite Spider-Man suit. Favorite Spider-Man suit. I'm not going to say the classic one just because.
Favorite Spider-Man suit that's not your basic.
Yeah, that seems like cheating.
It's like,
what's
your favorite ice cream? Vanilla. Like, no.
Yeah, exactly.
Not that vanilla is bad.
I don't know if it counts, but I like the that red Ben Reilly Scarlet Spider suit that came out in, like, I don't even know when that was, 2010 maybe. That was really cool. If we're talking Peter Parker, I actually like the what was it, Ends of the Earth armor was actually kind of cool. That was a Dan Slott run, unfortunately, but I thought that was a pretty cool design.
I'm going to answer that too, because I'm going to assume Bjorn was asking me. No, I love the Ben Reilly suits too. The Sensational Spider-Man and the Scarlet Spider suit. But then in Spider-Man, the PS4 game, I was playing in the Spider-Punk costume.
That's pretty badass. Yeah. Hobie Brown.
Are you doing a TMNT card set? I believe.
I'd love to. The hard part is going to be for me, because I would probably want to stick with the same thing doing episodes. And the hard part for me is going to be watching the show, to be honest. I could probably scrape together at least one set. I don't see myself doing all of them, though, because I don't even know how many episodes of that. There's like 6 or 7 seasons. But yeah. I'd love to do at least one set of them.
He didn't say no. Favorite DC animated universe movie outside of Mask of the Phantasm?
That's harsh. I mean, I'm going to cheat and say Sub-Zero. It's going to be... No, you know what? Return of the Joker. I'll say Return of the Joker.
Nice.
That's really good. I just watched it again, I don't know, like 3 or 4 days ago, actually.
Man, this is best budget camera and lens for toy photography.
So I'm not like a camera head as much as I'd like to be. But I will say I have any of the Canon Rebels. I think that's what I learned on. I think they're really easy to use. And I think you can find usually like a $400 bundle on Amazon. It may be even less than that now. I'm not sure. It's a good deal because it comes with a different lens, something you can use for, like, if you're on vacation or something.
Yeah.
But the stock lens is great for ACBA. Get a battery. For the love of God, get a spare battery. That is the biggest mistake that anyone in this hobby makes, is not getting a second battery. You will be 2 shots away from the perfect shot. I promise you, when your battery is dead.
Actually, You know what? There are a lot of B-sides and C-sides where I always look at the guy's battery indicators. Charge your shit.
Yep. I always have another one charging. It is the most boring $30 you will ever spend, but get one. It is so worth it.
The good part about ACBA is that you don't need crazy expensive gear like camera or a lens, for the simple fact that your subject is entirely in your control.
Yep.
You're not shooting a live person. You're not shooting a sporting event. You're not shooting animals, wildlife, children. So the subject, the posing, the lighting, the framing is all up to you. So you don't even need like a crazy several $100,000, $1,000 lens with crazy autofocus and all that stuff. I have a manual focus macro lens because it's on a tripod.
Yep.
I can just do like a 2-second shutter or with a timer and just make sure everything is in focus before it goes. And that lens cost me $110.
Yep. You'll have better results using a manual lens too. I don't always do it, but there are times that I have to, and it's usually better.
Yeah. So the base body of the camera, I mean, if you don't want to spend a lot of money, you can consider. I use Sony, but I wouldn't recommend Sony because all the attachments, lenses and stuff end up being pretty costly. So there's one thing that you shouldn't buy. That answers the opposite of your question. Now that Power Rangers is leaving Netflix, what series is the best to watch? Oh man, Brandon, you said you don't watch that much stuff. What's next on your list? He's gonna try and make it through Ninja Turtles.
Yeah, Ninja Turtles. I got to finish the Queen's Gambit. I have to finish the 2012 Ninja Turtles too. Actually, I have still not finished that.
Everyone's raving about the show, and I want to watch it. Like I want to watch something new. I want to expand, the things that I watch. That's not just comic book and superheroes, but it's like it's about chess play.
It's so much better than you think it would be. Trust me, I was in the same boat. I just heard it was so good, and I like Anya Taylor-Joy, and I watched it. It's really good.
All right.
The first episode is pretty much, I mean, this isn't like a big spoiler or anything. It's pretty much a flashback, and it's still good. It's great.
All right.
Yeah.
I will take
It's strangely great.
Someone giving a recommendation obviously is always worth more than
it helps.
The review. Brandon, thank you so much for your time.
Thanks for having me.
We've been talking online for a long time. I'm glad we were able to hold a good conversation talking about this hobby that we love. Can you please tell everybody, you got anything going on where they can reach you, where you want them to go?
So definitely my main presence is Instagram. I'm going to make it complicated because there's 2 different accounts. My promise on the Batman one is that it will only be Batman the animated series. It will not be Batman 89. It will not be Batman anything else. You will not see Flashpoint Batman on that account anywhere. It's not going to happen. It's just animated series stuff. I'm not going to let the scope creep like that. So it's at Batman the Articulated Series. It's also one of the longer names that you'll ever have to type.
You don't have to type it. It's in the description.
Oh, perfect. Even better. Even better. Just go there. That's kind of that recently surpassed what used to be my main account in terms of followers. So I guess by default, that's my main account now.
Sweet.
My other account, that's kind of my catch-all. Anything that's not Batman animated series is at Posable Productions. Posable. That's probably going to be in the description as well.
I got yours there.
Thank you. So recently I've been doing more sort of cartoony video game type stuff like Mario Kart and South Park. But we'll have those House of X-Men pretty soon. You'll be seeing some of that. Hopefully you'll be seeing Flashpoint Batman on there. And hopefully in not too long, you'll be seeing some Ninja Turtles on there too.
Sweet. And I also have the link to your Etsy store up there.
Thank you very much.
So you guys got a sample of some of the cards that I was flipping through them. So make sure, you know what? They make great gifts too. Even if you're not into it yourself, you have a collector friend or family member who is into that show. They're great presents too.
It's unique. I had a couple people who I don't even know buy them off of Etsy right before Christmas, which I thought was really cool because I know what that's going to be. I thought that was awesome. It's going to be a Christmas present for somebody.
Cool, man. Well, thank you for your time. I saw a lot of new names in the chat today.
Awesome.
I don't know how you guys found your way here, but I do appreciate it. Thank you very much. If you like what I'm doing here, please consider subscribing. And just like any of your favorite social media posts, hit that thumbs up if you like what's going on here. I'm here every Thursday, 9 p.m. Eastern Standard Time. Next week's guest, per se, has not been confirmed yet. But if you follow me on Instagram at Toying Around, I'll post updates when everything is there. On Twitter at I'm Toying Around, which I don't use much because I'm an old man and I don't know how to use it. I do know Discord. I know how to use Discord. And the week after that, January 21st, I'll be opening some toys with Sunny Plays with Toys. The Sunny Review Channel is 2 different names, but hilarious too. So I can't wait for that either. So thank you very much, guys. Everyone in the chat. Brandon, thank you again.
Thanks for having me, Kevin.
Cool. All right, guys. Keep toying around. Peace.
Take care.